From HD Boston, 98.5, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Celtics appear to be facing their worst-case scenario this morning. Not only did they lose to the Knicks last night, 121-113 to fall behind 3-1 in that second-round playoff series, they lost Jason Tatum as well. Tatum scored 42 points but left with about 3 minutes to go, and he suffered a non-contact injury to his lower right leg. He was carried off the floor and then went back to the locker room in a wheelchair. Jaylen Brown sums up the feeling amongst his teammates.
Tonight is tough. I think everybody's kind of in a loss for words just because, one, losing the game, but obviously the concern with JT. But we pick our heads back up tomorrow and go from there.
Tatum will undergo an MRI today. Jalen Brunson had 39 points for the winners last night. Game 5 tomorrow night at TD Garden. Out west, Minnesota now leads Golden State 3-1 after a 117-110 win in San Francisco last night. Dallas won the NBA's draft lottery. Despite having less than a 2% chance to do so, they are expected to select Cooper Flagg, number 1, next month. Detroit scored 9 runs on the bottom of the third inning. They beat the Red Sox 14-2 in the opener of a 3-game series at Comerica Park. Tanner Houck allowed 11 earned runs in 2 1/3 innings of work. His ERA is now north of 8 for the season. The two teams will play again tonight. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Catches Law. At Catches, they specialize in helping those who have been injured not only from a one-time incident, but from a lifetime of hard work and labor. Does this sound like you? Visit CatchesLaw.com. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 6:30.
New England plays here.
Down the right side, it's a separation. Touchdown pass. Yes. Perfect dive from Drake May.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
Ladies and gentlemen, I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Toucher
When has that been necessary to fact check?
and Hardy
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
on 98.5.
Hey there.
Sarge GPT moving up.
Let me hear you say, "Boo! Boo! Boo!"
Crush me, mommy.
Say my name.
I'm a robot.
I'm the son of the Pope.
I'm a goddamn drag!
Yeah, good luck, dude.
Nothing like a good tushy.
I love you. And I think you know that.
Excuse me?
Toucher and Hardy
Watch Daddy and Uncle Freddie.
Knocking back some fat and having some fun.
on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Let's go.
Even if they're fat.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. We are Toucher and Hardy, Town Fair Tire Studios, 617-779-0985. You can watch us on YouTube. Subscribe to 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube. You'd be doing us... just make a fake account and subscribe to it, and then go to your real account and watch
But
whatever
why?
you want.
But why?
I don't know. That's they want subscribers. We got over 30,000. I suppose they would like 100,000.
Maybe you're the one that's weird.
Does anyone else besides Joe and us promote it, or because they're on TV?
Well, maybe.
They don't promote.
I've never heard the midday show or the afternoon show promoted. Maybe I'm just tuning in at the wrong times.
How often do you tune in?
I like to check in once a day, maybe twice.
All right, so obviously big news,
More than you.
That's not true.
but not more than I. Not more than I. Only an hour and a half to get to Braintee yesterday.
Oh, sweet.
Turned out it wasn't it.
Didn't I tell you that
Yeah, you told me on a Saturday.
And how was the Saturday? Was it sneaky bad?
Well, it got rained out and got moved
that's
today.
Right. That's right.
So yeah, I had to. I thought I was off the hook because I thought it was at Tabor Academy, which we saw was in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so there was no way I was going to have to go to that. So I thought that my ex-wife would just pick him up at school late. And she was nice enough to agree to do that. So I thought I was off the hook yesterday, but then it turned out it was in Braintee, which I had to do. But on 95 south and 93 north, that just does it doesn't move. No need to move. But yet there's some guys, they've gained the system. They're cutting you off in when you're going 10 miles an hour. They're switching lanes. So like they're figuring out the grid.
Let me tell you the ultimate move down in that neck of the woods is people coming off of 95 North and joining up with 93 North.
Right.
When it's really just traveling due east. It's 93 North at that point.
Mm-hmm.
They will ride along in that right lane, which is really the exit from 138 South, and they will take that thing for 2 miles.
Yep.
And they will wait until the last possible second and then cut over to the left. Because I got to deal with those people when I'm trying to exit every day.
One thing I will ask people is when you're driving and you're in the right lane and there's people coming out of an exit, why not let them in?
No.
Because that's what's going to kill you.
Yeah.
Is that if you're in someone's blind spot and you don't slow down and you speed up and they turn into you, that's your fault.
Yeah, and that is the ultimate blind spot too. If you're kind of, going toward the lane a little bit.
Yeah.
And I mean it's a huge blind spot and people just they don't care.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to get in front of this guy.
Yeah, and you're going say you're only going 60. I mean, that's a big accident. I mean, you're gonna wreck your car. You might get hurt, and that's entirely your fault. You're not supposed to be in that right lane. I get it. If you're exiting the next exit, you might want to be in it, but then you got to slow down and let people in. You don't have to let everyone in, but you got to let someone in.
Yep.
Speeding up there is doing no one any favors. It's very odd. It's very odd. But we, of course, will we'll talk an awful lot about the Tatum thing today. But we got another cease and desist. So this is interesting. I'll have Adam explain it. Yesterday, or not yesterday, 2 days ago in the evening, we got a cease and desist from Miss Maine.
We got a cease and desist from, let's put it this way, because we want to make sure that we got the I's dotted and the T's crossed. We got a cease and desist from whoever is affiliated with Pageant.tv, right? Which is who Nick had subscribed
right.
to
so
get
they didn't want
footage.
to. They didn't want to play that audio,
Correct,
because obviously they were embarrassed.
Yes, and they used and as they should. They said you got to look at the terms and conditions when you bought the subscription. It says you're not allowed to.
No, as they should if they were smart. No one knows that exists. I'd want everyone playing the audio.
Right.
But it was funny because I heard a little bit of Howard Stern yesterday, and they couldn't play the audio either
because they got the same scene that we did.
And so then. Mm-hmm. So, okay, we can't play that audio, so we just played something from YouTube, which someone had filmed with their camera, which they don't own.
Right.
So then later in the day, I don't know, some article on the website or some video.
I posted an article. I took our segment from yesterday on YouTube and I put it on the website, which I'll do often if we have something a big moment on the show or there's a big guest, big news story. I'll take it and I'll put it on our page of the website. So we've got lots of good stuff for people to check out when they go over to 985thesportshub.com. They go to the Toucher and Hardy page.
Yeah.
So what happened is when I was writing it up, and I think none of us were aware of this yesterday, that the pageant that took place in Portland, Maine over the weekend was the Miss Maine USA pageant.
Yes.
And that USA is the most important part because the Miss Maine USA pageant is completely different from the Miss Maine pageant. No USA in that second one. Miss Maine is under the umbrella of the Miss America pageant, and that's where the issue was taken. Is we were referring to it, I was writing about it as the Miss Maine pageant, and a lawyer on behalf of the Miss USA pageant said, no. You Miss America pageant said, no, you cannot, say that we gave you a cease and desist. We don't have anything to do with this. We're two completely different entities. Miss Maine USA is the pageant that happened over the weekend. That is not affiliated with Miss America. So that becomes the line of delineation.
So what one company did, so this is the breakdown. One company gave us a cease and desist.
Yes.
And the other one gave us a cease and desist to say they did, to stop from saying they gave us a cease and desist.
I think that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a good way to put it.
So, I mean, have pageants ever been more relevant? I mean, I guess that they might have some old ladies that had to grow up with walking around with books on their head and stuff, funding them. This might be the end of the line for them. but the amount they're paying in lawyers' fees to make sure that like, hey, we don't want it out there that we put out a cease and desist. So here's a cease and desist.
Are they, though? I mean, that first cease and desist looked like Nick wrote it. There were 2 typos in it that I caught, and I wasn't even really looking.
Well, someone sent. The only other show I heard is because I happened to turn on Howard Stern, which I did not keep on for very long. Because I was frustrated he wasn't playing guitar, and when he's not playing guitar, I have no time. Because sometimes you get a half hour of that, which is good stuff. Mm-hmm. And they were like kind of saying what happened without playing the audio. Right. So my understanding was they couldn't play the audio either. So, but if I was Pageant.com, I'd want everyone playing the audio because I want everyone to know. And then maybe you could even like buy it now and like go back and watch it. Like like if you have something that no one knows exists and people are talking about it even kind of to make fun of it, that doesn't matter. Right. I want money.
Yeah, no such thing as bad press, as they say.
Well, there is, but this isn't it.
No.
Like someone teasing it. First of all, Hudson didn't win. And of course she wasn't going to win because that would have been very embarrassing for you.
Right.
The idea that she wasn't bright enough to know that and that she was actually disappointed that she didn't win is fascinating to me. There was no way she was winning. Do you think they want to put up with that for the rest of the year? A whole year of that nonsense? That was never us. It was never going to happen. Well,
of course it wasn't.
It would have been great for us too because she would have been in the public eye so much more now. I mean, the Miss Maine really would have put it, or whatever the hell it is. Is it Miss Maine USA?
Miss Maine USA.
Miss Maine USA would have really put her over the top with everything. Then she would have finally been famous. But
it is interesting, though, Fred, that the point that you make of they're very insular. They don't want anybody talking about these events. They don't want us playing the audio, even if it's to make fun of it, which leads. I find it interesting because, again, okay, here's an opportunity for you to promote this product that you have that is very niche and not a lot of people know about, and maybe you make it a little more mainstream, and maybe you get some more subscriptions to Pageant.tv and some more interest, and you've kind of shut that down. So I don't know. It
makes no sense because the pageant gave a bunch of people press passes.
Yeah,
the pageant gave a ton of media. I think the New York Times was there.
There were tons of media outlets from all over New England and all over the East Coast. We
were going to have a guy on today from Mass Live, but we want to talk about the Celtics. But they had the pageant knew what was going on and they wanted the press.
But just very quickly, any press who gets credentialed for that, they know is a friendly for the most part.
Sure,
yeah.
Right.
They know all these people. It's not like the Boston Globe just requests one. No, they know the person from the Boston Globe who's covering it. Oh, it's the person who does that column. Yeah,
I've been on the beat since 1962. I've seen it all. This is my 55th Miss Maine. I've been to all of them. I've seen it all. Next. You think this Hudson was something? You should have seen Sally McGillicuddy. Back in 68, she had huge jugs, and it was a bit of a problem.
I still remember Donna from Bar Harbor. That girl had it.
She ended up being a waitress. I remember there was a super fat one because Maine was flush with cash in 1969, and they were eating like it was. Everyone Rubenesque. The next one, the one before them, the next one more Rubenesque than the last.
Before Vietnam, no one had maple syrup on their pancakes, and then everyone discovered the golden nectar, and Maine was awash in funds for the first time ever. Oh, what a time.
The streets were paved in gold. Honey, I've seen it all. I'll tell you, in 1984, I'll tell you this, there were two things that were happening, Algonquin and cocaine. The pageant was just the backstory.
And let me tell you something else, honey. They were not mutually exclusive.
Oh, if I told you, Ma. I'll tell you, the parking lot of the Holiday Inn was Studio 54 North.
We had a saying back then, it was always snowing in Maine.
Yes. I'll tell you what, when you were in the Holiday Inn, someone was in you.
If someone asks you to play a little 8-ball in Bangor, they weren't talking about billiards.
Oh, Jesus, I get PTSD just looking at this Holiday Inn. I mean, I remember being up all night, my second continental breakfast, and I still hadn't slept 2 continental breakfasts in. All right, so, yeah, we were going to have a guest on for that and everything, but obviously there's very bad news if you're a Celtics fan, and it really does change. If everything is the way that it seems, it changes the trajectory of this team. Obviously, not only this postseason, but into the future and quite frankly, the legacy of this team. It's a really unfortunate thing that happened. Even if you're a basketball fan, you find it funny that he got hurt?
There I was laid in my bed, a belly full of a single serving box of cornflakes and an apple, waiting for sleep to take me, and it wouldn't. I was wired. I was coked to the gills.
And then I heard a knock on the door, and I'm like, get away, it's housekeeping. And then I realized it was the Holiday Inn. They don't do housekeeping on weekdays. And so I said, what? And it was Marco. And Marco had a bag.
And he said, time for your real breakfast.
He had a bag and a string of balls. And he said, here we go. The party just started. And then I remember when ecstasy hit the scene. Sweet, sweet MDMA before it was cut. Medicinal stuff, pharmaceutical stuff.
Pharmaceutical grade X.
And then, the rave scene started at the Holiday Inn in Portland. That was where, that's where they learned how to DJ. Real bad music. I mean, you could go into any of the conference rooms, and there would be a late night scene. We would plug into, we would unplug the toaster in the kitchen and plug in our DJ equipment and just party the night away. We'd pay off Raul, the front desk guy, and he would just let us boogie into the night. The chemicals in that indoor pool, they couldn't kill anything. Our fluids could have destroyed anything in that indoor pool.
He would look the other way as the Kiwanis Club members would shuffle through the lobby on the way to their conclave.
I turned a few of those out. Hello, Grandpa. How about a toot? Yes.
Yeah, Tatum got hurt. Sorry.
How many community college reunions were destroyed by the lure? People talk about the Riot.
Colleges have reunions?
Well, they do in Portland, Maine, at the Holiday Inn. We used to call it the Riot Howdy East. I remember one time we were fishing out the window and we had these whores in the room. John Bonham stole it from us. If anyone knows that story, which I don't believe. Bring that story.
All
I don't believe that story for 1 second.
Whew.
All right,
okay.
That movie with that Cameron Crowe wrote, Almost Famous, almost identical to the Portland scene, except for the planes and the money.
And they had the live music. It was all Raul who allowed us to do our thing, and then would run out to the McDonald's 15 miles away to get those little stirrer spoons for us. They weren't for coffee, but they served another purpose.
Well, that was when we were shorting people. I'll take the dollar bill, you take the mixing straw. We'll see who gets more in them. All right, very good. Now it is time to talk about the Celtics. As things go, it's not so much about the loss anymore as it is about the.
It's a little bit about the loss too. I'm not letting you off that easy. You specifically, you.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh yeah, sure. But I am the macro of this is more interesting.
Bigger story is what this means the next 3-4 years.
Yeah, because if Tatum didn't get hurt, I still think they would win the series. But
You're out of your mind.
I might be. I mean, I cannot predict the future. I can't predict the past.
No, we'll pick up on that very point. Now, do you want to do that next? Or you want to find out what happened late last night?
I don't know about the future. I don't know. That's anybody's guess. There's no good reason for getting all depressed.
Past is history, future's a mystery.
I'm singing Blossom. Pick up your pen and pencil. I'll tell you a piece of my mind. Because my opinion made in the sun is going to show a less shine. Stop all your fussing. Strap on a smile. Come on and take a walk in the sun for a while.
Close enough.
Who knows? Who knows? All right, we'll be right back.
More Toucher and Hardy on the way. and Hardy with blunt honesty.
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
Toucher and Hardy continues on the Sports Hub.
Did you catch a game last night?
Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy, a terrible night for the Celtics last night.
It was Game 4 as the Celtics went in trailing 2-1 in their Eastern Conference semifinal against the New York Knicks, playing at Madison Square Garden last night. Jason Tatum asserting himself early.
And to the final minute now of quarter number 1. Tatum comes across half court, pulls up for a deep three, and he knocks it down. Jason Tatum looks like he's feeling like Jason Tatum tonight in Game 4.
Jason Tatum feeling like he's Superman.
12 in the first quarter, Celtics by 5. That was a crazy deep one.
It was indeed, and the Celtics would hold on to their lead. They would be up 62-51 at the half.
And they were shooting incredibly from 3, right?
Yep.
At the half.
It was just like Game 3. They went nuts in the first half. The difference, though, Hardy, was they didn't get the separation they got in Game 3 in this one.
Right.
The Knicks, when the Knicks would go on runs, there was like a series of runs in the first half.
Never let the Celtics get too far ahead. Even though the Celtics finished off quarters well, they weren't up 20 at any point in this one.
There were a lot of runs, and I guess I could find them, but there was like an 8-point run for the
9-point run, an 8-point, yes, all of that. No, they never got it to 20. They never got it to 17. The biggest lead they got was in the third quarter.
Comes away with it, falls down, gets to the Towns. Clean steal, but Tatum runs the passing lane, steps in front of Anunoby and picks it off the other way. Moves it to the left corner for a Derek White 3.
Ooh, that's a killer, man. That's absolutely a killer. You make a steal like that in the open court. Tatum is doing it all right now.
And Derek White's 3 would put them up 72-58, up 14 in the third quarter. Now, as we already mentioned, the Knicks would go on a series of mini runs that would finally get them back to a tie. Back and forth game. Here we hear the clutch player of the year.
Josh Hart screen, moves to his left. White stays in front of him. Brunson right-hand dribble, free throw line. Exposes the ball near Tatum, but he keeps it. Turns, fades at 12 feet. Jumper's good. Tie game.
Woo. And he gets where he wants to go.
I got to say, it's one of the rare moments in that game where the Knicks on a possession didn't pass the ball around a lot. They had great ball movement last night, and they were using Jalen Brunson. Obviously, the ball almost always went through him, but he wasn't taking every shot. And they would move the ball around, and sometimes he would end up with it again and take the shot, but keeping the Celtics defense honest and moving. And there was a stark contrast between how the Celtics were playing offense last night, which was many times one player with the ball coming across half court, keeping the ball for the entirety of the possession, which didn't always last that long because as soon as you got some kind of an open 3, you take it.
That's what happens when the Celtics don't play well. Everybody stands still. And the Knicks, give the Knicks credit, man. They were the better team last night. Brunson was good. Mikal Bridges got hot again in the second half. OG Anunoby hit a couple of big threes. You know, Karl Anthony Towns was kind of always there, but they used everybody last night. And what happened last night is the same thing that's happened all series. The Knicks play at a certain level, and they never drop off. And the Celtics can get hot and cold, but the Knicks always stay at that one level. And when the Celtics drop off, the Knicks take advantage.
And like you said, when the Celtics are playing poorly, I think two things happen, John. Number one, there's a lot of standing around and some mini hero ball going on with whoever has possession at that moment. And also, they cough up the ball a lot. They lose the handle on shots, and that's what was happening as the Knicks took the lead. About 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and then this is what we're all talking about today.
Tatum or Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown dropped it. Picked off by Anunoby. He will go the distance. Two-hand slam, and Tatum is hurt. Tatum is hurt. Tatum is still down. He is screaming for a timeout. And in a New York minute, everything has changed.
Because they're in New York. That's a New York
right.
minute.
It's faster.
Don Henley reference.
Right.
I refuse to do your dirty work. Oh, yeah, that's another song.
That's not
It's not Don
That's
Henley.
not even
no.
close.
Dan, but
No, but it's
No.
it's
Don't
kinda,
worry, be happy.
no.
That's another song.
Similar groove.
Yeah. The
I
yacht rock.
refuse
Yeah.
to do your dirty work. Oh yeah.
What's going on with Jason Tatum? In the moment, no one knew.
Tatum with a towel over his head, lying on his back as the Celtics training staff trying to stabilize that right ankle. Tatum was just pounding his left foot, his left ankle on the ground. They lift Jason Tatum up. No weight whatsoever on the right ankle. Every Celtics title defense, it seems, comes with some calamitous injury that changes the course of history.
What was the calamitous injury in 2009?
Kevin Garnett.
Oh, right.
They were away to a 27-2 start.
That's
Garnett hurts himself in December, and they're never the same.
Okay.
What happened last year? Oh, title defense.
Yeah.
Okay, title defense.
Defense, Fred. Anyway, Jalen Brunson took advantage. They already had the lead. They were up 7 right before the steal. With 3 minutes left, the steal where Tatum ended up getting hurt, that put the Knicks up 9. I have zero confidence the Celtics were going to be able to somehow retake the lead and win that game. But just to be on the safe side, Jalen Brunson.
113-104 is the math. Jalen Brunson, step back 3. Got it. It was going to be the New York Knicks night.
Yeah.
They are going to style and profile to the finish.
Yes, they were. That made it 116-104. They were going to win 121-113.
And we'll talk a lot about the Tatum injury all morning, but something that bears mentioning, and Hardy, you brought it up beforehand, even with Tatum at full speed, and he did just about everything he could do last night. For everyone who, the few of you that are left, is screaming that Tatum's not the guy, 42 points last night and single-handedly kept his team in the game. He was incredible.
He was fantastic.
For most, if not the entire evening. There were a couple of bad shots in there, but
it's a terrible game for him to get hurt. I mean, any game would have been bad for him to get hurt, but this was like a real superstar. Like he's literally carrying the
top
team.
3 guy on the planet type of game. They were going to lose that game anyway.
Yes.
They were down 7 with 3 minutes to go when Tatum hurt himself.
Yeah.
They were going to lose anyway because Tatum had no help whatsoever. Derek White, I think scored 23 points. Most of that was in the first quarter.
Yeah, I don't know why they moved away from him too. He was shooting so well from 3, and even I only was in the car for a little bit of the game, but Max was saying, like, why are you not getting the ball to Derek White? If you recall, Derek White started the game off. He couldn't miss from 3, like, and then he never significantly cooled off. Like I mean, maybe, and I don't think maybe the Knicks were doing something defensively. I highly doubt it. It just seems they moved away from Derek White. And your precious Peyton Pritchard.
That's the epitome of the series right there. The Knicks got help from 3, 4, 5 different guys, and the Celtics did not. Right. And that's been the balance of the series. I mean, they got Mikal Bridges specifically to play the Celtics in the playoffs.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's been really, really good.
The only one
defensively the entire time, but offensively he's gotten hot at just the right time.
The only player for the Knicks who didn't contribute offensively that you would think they would need in order to assert themselves like that was Josh Hart, who finished with 6. But Brunson, 39. Karl Anthony Towns, 23 for Mikal Bridges, and Anunoby had 20. Whereas after Jason Tatum, Derek White was hot early, but that was early when he put up most of his 23.
That was in the first quarter.
But do the Knicks really need Josh Hart to score?
They don't need Josh Hart to score.
But
but he's not really. They can win without him scoring.
If he gives you 12 or 14,
sure.
That's a game
low
that
post and defense and rebounding for Josh.
Yeah,
Hart.
right. Yes. I understand that he only had 6 points.
Yeah.
But I think if I'm Thibodeau, I'm like, if Josh Hart's scoring's maybe not.
Yeah, if Josh Hart is taking a lot of shots, then something has gone wrong.
Yeah. Al Horford, Drew Holiday, largely absent last night.
Yep.
Not a lot. 9 points between the two of them. Peyton Pritchard was doing a lot of the holding on to the ball himself. He was guilty as anyone of not distributing the basketball, moving it around. He doesn't suck.
Stupid jerk.
Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis, he's not giving you much. He's missing layups, which is unfathomable to me. And you see, again, the contrast. When one of the Knicks bigs gets down low, they either finish or they get the putback and they score.
And Mitchell Robinson is the best offensive rebounder in the league. That's not – I mean, you could put Porzingis or anyone else out there. He just looks bad going for rebounds with Robinson getting those rebounds over him. Actually, I thought Porzingis was moving a little bit better last night.
But he's been atrocious offensively.
Yes. No, he has. He's not taking threes. He's lost in the offense.
When he takes them, he misses them.
Yeah, and he's getting bodied up when they try and post him at the foul line. He's clearly not all the way there.
Well, and this also might not be the world's greatest matchup for him because the Knicks are long and athletic and pretty strong. Like I'm not positive this is his best matchup.
Well, I mean, having said that, Josh Hart is guarding him most of the time.
Right.
Porzingis even missing his free throws last night. 3 of 6.
Yep, missed back-to-back free throws at a key point in the game.
So there you go. There's your final as the Knicks are now up 3-1 in the series, and Game 5 will take place tomorrow night in Boston, awaiting MRI results from Jason Tatum, which will presumably take place this morning. If you want to listen to Twitter doctors, anyone else, who knows? Ankle, Achilles.
Well, he was holding the back of his ankle. They put him in a wheelchair.
Didn't turn that ankle over.
They put him in a wheelchair to take him off the court. You would have to assume it's an Achilles injury.
Yeah.
And if it is an Achilles injury, he's not playing next year.
Nope.
And then when he does come back, it's going to take him half a year to get back into things.
The only comp for Tatum's injury is Kevin Durant, who did this in the finals when he was 29 years old. Didn't play at all the next year, and I didn't play more than 40 games in a season for 3 or 4 years after that. And, Tatum is 27.
Right. So the question is, and the exercise that we'll do later in the show is, because this isn't wild speculation, he probably tore his Achilles. So, like, if the Achilles is torn, you're already going to get rid of Holiday and Porzingis. What do you start? You're not getting rid of Brown and Tatum, but do you start maneuvering to maybe set yourself up for 2 years from now? You keep that core, you keep your 2 core stars. Because I'll ask your opinion real quick. You got a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather have them build to compete next year without Tatum? Or maneuver to, I mean, they'll make the playoffs next year, but maneuver for when Tatum gets back and is fully healthy to be better in that situation.
Absolutely.
Same with me.
Everything changed last night.
Yeah.
The trajectory of this franchise changed last night. We knew they were going to have to swap pieces in and out because of the salary cap problems, but Tatum being out next year, more than likely, and you can't expect him to be the Tatum you just saw last night when he returns.
No, it's going to take a year and a half.
It's going to take a year and a half for him to get right, and you have to figure that it's going to be, and whatever roster he comes back to isn't going to be the same one he just left.
Yeah.
Everything changed last night. Everything. From the roster to the expectations for next season to the expectations 3 years from now. Everything is different this morning.
Yeah, it's a real... As for the Celtics fans, it's just a terrible, terrible scenario because you went from, all of us just assuming they'd be in the finals to that's not happening, and it's not going to happen next year and the year after.
Getting replacements for these players, considering the cap jail you're in, getting replacements for Porzingis and Holiday, going to be a long struggle.
Well, yeah, but that's not even the concern. This now I'm talking, Brown and Tatum are here. But everyone else, I'm moving. I'm seeing if I can get future assets so I can prepare to build a team and get cap space to get a team together for 3 years from now.
Brad Stevens' timeline got moved up about 18 months last night.
Yeah. All right. So we'll be back. Here are the headlines.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Celtics lost a game and lost their best player. Knicks beat the Celtics at Madison Square Garden 121-113. They lead this playoff series 3-1, but that's not the big story. Jason Tatum suffered a non-contact injury to his lower right leg at the end of the game. He was taken off in a wheelchair. He'll have an MRI today. Tatum 42 points before he got hurt. Game 5 at TD Garden tomorrow night. And Detroit beat the Red Sox 14-2 at Comerica Park last night. Tigers got 9 runs in the third inning. Game 2 of this series tonight. Brian Bayo will start. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by DN Van Lines. Take the chance out of your move and make the sure bet with DN Van Lines. An approved mover of the Department of Defense, DNVanLines.com. I'm John Wallach. I'm Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at
clock sounds like this, this is the show for you. Toucher and Hardy, the Sports Hub.
No.
No, I'm asking you.
Oh.
He's asking the boss.
I sent you a couple of emails. Have you had a chance to look at them?
I was on vacation, baking in the sun.
Did you have a good time?
No, because I knew this pageant thing was going to blow up big time.
I told you.
No, he's been great. He's been fine. I'm just joking around. I really am just joking around. He's been fantastic. That was nothing but an exercise in being silly. Rick's been great. What happened last night is brought to you by Leonard Hair Train because he hates it when I do that.
He doesn't like it.
He doesn't like it at all.
He really didn't do anything. So I'm telling you, Rick, you did not do anything. I'm totally kidding around. What happened last night is brought to you by Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, where your hair doesn't have to be a game of what happened. So change your lettuce and change your life with Dr. Matthew Lepresti at 1-800-GET-HAIR. As everyone turns their attention, we will talk about the Celtics a lot today. Because it's really interesting because now what do you do over the next couple years? That's what is on the plate right now. But there were other games last night.
Yes, out west, Western Conference semifinals, Golden State hosting Minnesota. Minnesota up 2-1 in that series.
Jaden runs the floor on Buddy Hield, makes the catch. He's trapped under the backboard. He'll kick it back out. Here's it. Up fakes the three. Dribbles into the paint. Up off glass. He got it. Oh, a little English on that. Dropped it through. Ant needed that. 49-41.
Getting hit the step back.
Jaden McDaniels the rebound. Here's Ant on the move in the front court. He's up to 25 points. He'll stop and pop. He checked three. He got it again. Anthony Edwards cannot be stopped.
All right. Well, in case he were to be stopped, you've got somebody by the name of Rudy Gobert who's willing to step in, too, in the fourth quarter.
Rudy inside, turns and lays it up and in. Rudy's starting to feast. He's up to 8 points. He's got 5 boards. It's been a quiet Rudy night.
Starting to be.
He was 2 for 4 from the field, and you just played one of them. Good for you. Good for Rudy.
He hit the sky hook, baby.
8 points in 30 minutes. Good for Rudy. Feasting.
Timberwolves take advantage of Golden State, 117-110. They now lead 3-1. This is setting up to be a real snooze of an NBA Finals.
Yeah, by the way, Curry's not playing in Game 5 either. So it looks like this is it. Fred, I know you're a big fan of Anthony Edwards. He had it last night. Last night was a night for him. He scored 30, but it seemed like a lot more.
Yeah, if you look at the guy who's most likely going to be the face of the NBA going forward, it is going to be Anthony Edwards. As he is a high flyer who, now that this team is going to be in the Western Conference Finals, he is going to be a big deal.
I think it was fantastic that, everyone's preaching, Golden State, they play defense, man. They're really good defensively, even without Curry. That might even help their defense because Curry's not out there. Minnesota, shot 50% from the field, 50% from 3. Didn't have any trouble with the Golden State defense in San Francisco last night on their own home floor. Series is over.
And other than Kuminga, no one really stepping up for Golden State last night. Draymond, I don't know if he got into foul trouble early. He ended up with 4, but 14 points. Jimmy Butler, 14. Buddy Hield, 13. Not enough.
Yeah.
No. So that's over. And but Minnesota, Oklahoma City is not going to be a bad Western Conference final.
That should be fun to watch.
Yeah, that should be a good Western Conference final.
Unlike the Knicks-Indiana thing in the East we're going to be put through.
No, and I'm going to need people watching the phones today. One of you is going to have to be answering phones. That's important because if we're going to talk about one thing the entire show, I would like to get phone calls.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So I know we normally don't take them, but today would be a day for phone calls.
NBA draft lottery also last night. Third pick.
Picking third will be the Philadelphia 76ers.
Ooh, getting interesting. Okay, now we're down to the second pick.
The second pick will be made by the San Antonio Spurs.
Oh, what's the big murmur for? Because that meant
the number 1 pick in the 2025 NBA Draft goes to the Dallas Mavericks.
With 1.8% odds, they pull off
The longest
impossible.
odds in NBA lottery history.
How can a GM be that much of a dumbass and get rewarded? How is that possible?
Well, maybe he's not a dumbass. I mean, seriously, we'll see how Cooper Flagg is. He won't be the scorer that Luka Doncic is, but he's certainly going to be a lot better defensively. He's going to be a better overall player. Will he be as good as Luka Doncic? No, because he probably won't score like that. And Doncic is such an incredible scorer. But if they were worried about someone playing defense, Cooper Flagg's a tremendous defensive player.
We're going to talk to Jeff Goodman at 9 o'clock. Goodman is of the mind that Flagg's ceiling is being a top 5 player in this league.
Right. And also, it's if you're Washington, it sucks because you could make the argument this is a 2-player draft and maybe 3, and Washington ain't picking in the top 3. And that's, if you're a Washington fan, you got to be devastated because it really is. It's Cooper Flagg, it's the guard from Rutgers, and then it's the big man from Rutgers, maybe.
The big man from Rutgers apparently is not 6'10". Apparently he's 6'7".
Oh,
they we'll see at the combine, but that was the rumor yesterday, is that he's going to drop significantly because
so it is a 2-man draft.
He's 2 or 3 inches shorter than he was supposed to be.
Yeah. Okay. So
there are 2.
I didn't hear that. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's Dylan Harper and Cooper Flagg.
Bailey
basically.
apparently is 6'7 3/4".
Oh,
not 6'10".
Knipple might go 5th. I don't think Knipple is going to change the face of your franchise. I don't think that VJ Edgecombe is going to change the. But he might go 3rd.
If you're Danny Ainge and you finished with the worst record in the NBA, which Utah did this year, and you go from 1 to 5 in this draft, so much for luck for Danny. I thought Utah would get the number 1 overall pick, but apparently not.
Yeah.
If you're Cooper Flagg and it was down to one of those 3, which city would you most want to live in? Philadelphia, San Antonio, Dallas?
Dallas.
I've never been to San Antonio.
I'd want to live in Philadelphia.
I'll take Dallas.
Dallas.
Maybe San Antonio, but I've never been there, so I can't say.
I wouldn't want to live in Dallas. No way. All right. We will be back in just a moment, and we'll continue our Celtics talk.
You're listening. by Celsius Energy
The
Drinks.
Celtics are now on the brink of elimination, but they have bigger issues to worry about.
Tatum for Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown dropped it. Picked off by Anunoby. He will go the distance. Two-hand slam, and Tatum is hurt. Tatum is hurt.
That is Sean Grandy here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. And with the Celtics down 7 and just over 3 minutes to go, Jason Tatum suffered a non-contact injury to his lower right leg and had to be carried off the floor as the Celtics lost 121-113 to the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. Tatum scored 42 points but needed a wheelchair to get back to the locker room. Joe Mazzulla said afterwards he'll get an MRI this morning, but based on Tatum's reaction, the injury did not look good. Celtics trail this second-round playoff series 3-1. They'll host Game 5 at TD Garden tomorrow night. Minnesota also leads Golden State 3-1 after posting a 117-110 road win late last night. At the NBA's draft lottery, Dallas is your winner. They are expected to take Duke star freshman Cooper Flagg, number 1 overall. San Antonio will pick second. Philadelphia, Charlotte, and Utah round out the top 5. And the Red Sox were beaten in Detroit 14-2 last night. Tanner Houck's bad season continued in this one. He allowed 11 runs and got a total of 7 outs in this game. It's the second time this season Houck has allowed 11 runs in less than 3 innings. Ryan Baio starts tonight as this 3-game series continues at Comerica Park. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Gem Plumbing. Cooling installs and 24/7 service. Go to AskGem.com. I'm John Wallach of Boston's Hill for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7:30.
Boston plays here.
Coming through the slot. Close shot. Save. Rebound. Score.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
It's called rising and grinding.
Start your
Got
day.
your finger on the pulse, Fred.
Begin your
Seldom
day
right and never wrong.
right here. Is that toucher or is that target?
I know, looks like a poodle. It's an effing poodle, dumbass.
The Sports Hub.
Has an injury that looks severe. He had to be helped off the court, as you saw, and then I don't know how many of you saw this, but they did show him in a wheelchair. They put him in a wheelchair when he got off the court.
Sobbing as they brought him back to the locker room.
And usually when players sob, and I hate doctors on Twitter. You guys know that. I think you're not a doctor if you're giving people diagnoses without seeing them. That's ridiculous. And not even getting symptoms from them, not even talking to them, let alone seeing them.
Just looking at a video.
But if these guys know when they snap something, like they do. So I would be very surprised, and I hope it's not, as someone who's on a station that carries the team, I hope it's not a torn Achilles. I'd be surprised if it's not. That changes everything. But Adam, 617, by the way, 779-0985, because there is a interesting macro conversation. It goes beyond this season in that if you're the Celtics and you know you might most likely not have Tatum next year and maybe into the following season, you have that tax apron you have to get under. What maneuvers do you make? Go ahead.
Real quick, according to the numbers I have in front of me, the Celtics have about $225 million committed to salaries next season. The second luxury tax apron is over $35 million under that. That's how much space they have to make up. And Porzingis makes about $30 million next year, so that's a good start. But there's a lot more at stake.
Well, they're going to have to get rid of Holiday.
Well, there's a lot more in front of you when you consider that Tatum probably will not be with the team next year. They're a playoff team without him, but they're not a championship
right. And
contender
so the question would be, do you try to maneuver and give up assets and trade to stay competitive next year, or do you focus on 2 or 3 years from now? Adam, go ahead.
First of all, Fred, thank you for being on the front lines with this Jordan Hudson and Bill Belichik. You're like the reporting on the side of the mountain when a fire is going on. It's unreal. Good job.
Thank you, sir.
And also I'm not complaining about the refs. I thought they're going to lose anyway. Did you see what Towns did to Austin last night? He elbowed him in the back of the head as he went in for a layup. They didn't even call that, but they called a flagrant foul on Brown.
They did call that. They did call that.
No, they didn't.
They absolutely called that.
They called it.
They absolutely called it.
Yeah, they called it.
They did.
But thank you for noticing my
bitching about one foul call seems a little far-fetched at this point.
Yeah,
especially when both Pritchard and Tatum got away with either travels or double dribbles down the stretch last night. They had trouble holding on to the ball. So again, it's like ball security, it's lack of ball movement. And the one foul call you're going to complain about, they did call it. Towns
referee-
didn't like it, but it got called.
Refs had nothing to do with last night.
It would
not
be
in the same universe.
It would be kind of funny if the Celtics managed to win the series despite missing Jason Tatum.
That would be. I'd love to see the odds on that.
Just
this morning,
just with these Knicks fans. But so that's the conversation is this: is that do you how do you prepare this team now? Like, do you try to get future? You're gonna have to move Porzingis, and you're gonna have to move Holiday. Like that's a given.
Holiday has 2 years left with a player option for a third season.
Right, and teams are gonna want Porzingis. If I was a team, I wouldn't want Porzingis just because he can't play. But someone will take him. But you could get something for Holiday. You could get future. But what do you do with this roster now? Because do you build for the future in that? Do you want? I would acquire picks so I could make deals 2 years from now. I would want as many picks, not to take the picks, but to get as many picks as I could and get as much cap room as I could to when Tatum comes back. Now I'm in a situation where I have some maneuverability.
It's bad timing because Tatum's new extension kicks in this summer. So he gets a significant spike salary-wise. That's why you're really hamstrung. Just real quick, having this happen to Tatum right now really sucks because he was at the height of his powers. I mean, this is the best Jason Tatum has ever looked, what you saw last night. And to have this happen to him is just a killer for this franchise. But getting back to what you were saying, Fred, you have to take 2 steps back at this point.
Like, do you trade Derek White?
I think you keep Derek White.
Okay.
Derek White is, not only is he the best shot-blocking guard in the NBA, he is a significant piece offensively. And he signed up for 3 years moving forward.
Yeah, but he's signed for 3 years moving forward.
I don't think you gut things. I think that you can get rid of Holiday.
Well, you're not
entering his mid-30s. You can get rid of Porzingis.
But they were going to do that anyway. My argument would be this, is that I don't think you're gutting things when you're keeping Tatum and Brown. So you're keeping 2 youngish pieces that are – but, by the time Tatum's healthy again, if this is the way people think, Brown's going to be 30. Tatum's going to be around 29. So you still got these guys in their prime. So you're not gutting things. Gutting things is trading Luka Doncic. Gutting things is trading Giannis. Like Milwaukee will be gutting things.
I don't
trading Derek White is not gutting things.
Okay, fair enough. I don't want to sell off that piece though.
Fair enough. That's fair.
White is young enough, and yes, he's going to make $30 million over the course of the next 3 or 4 years per season. But I think he's too valuable to let go.
Okay, but then my question would be, who can you move for assets for 2 years from now to make you in a position where you can add talent?
Other than Porzingis and Holiday,
Yeah,
I'm looking at the roster right now. I don't think there's anybody else.
Yeah, so Derek White would be that guy. So that's an interesting thing.
It's an interesting way to look at it, but if I'm the Celtics, I hold on to him. He's a good third piece to have.
Okay, but
no, it hurts you against the cap.
But he's 30, and by the time that it hurts you against the cap, and he's 30.
He's going to be 32. He's going to be 32 with maybe 2 or 3 more viable years left.
Right. So
after you get him.
do you get rid of him now? This is, again, just do you get rid of him now because you could get a lot for him, and then you're in position to strike when Tatum comes back.
You build around in 2 or 3 years, Tatum, Brown, White, Pritchard, and I guess Hauser because he's signed. But
you're not building. You got to add. You're going to have to add.
What I'm saying is, you add to that. That would be my game plan. You add to those 3 or 4 if you include Pritchard.
Joe. Hello, Joseph.
Hello, morning, fellas. He's 38 years old. Does Horford come back if Tatum's not back? And can you do anything with him, or is he unrestricted? Can we get something for him?
He's an unrestricted free agent this summer. And no, you don't get anything for Al Horford.
Yeah, but he's not coming back.
No,
you can't.
I mean, if If Tatum were healthy,
yes, then
you
you'd
would
bring him
sign
back.
him. You would bring him back.
Right, because he doesn't make any money.
There are other franchises that keep guys like Miami had a guy by the name of Udonis Haslem.
Oh, I'm aware.
But I mean, not everyone else.
He wore a suit.
But that's the thing. Haslam was with the team far beyond the years that he was a viable actual player.
Yeah,
that would be the Horford guy.
Yeah, he would wear penny loafers to the
Yes,
games.
that would be Horford on your team, except Horford was a little better and he was younger. But Horford's an unrestricted free agent this summer.
Yeah, and so now that Tatum's not back, Horford's definitely gone. So you're cutting. What are you cutting? You're cutting $60 million. You're cutting about $70 million.
Holiday is due to make 32 next year. Porzingis 30, and Horford made 10 this year.
Yeah, and so you're cutting about $70 million off your payroll.
But don't forget, Tatum gets a significant spike.
No, I
Brown
know.
Gets a pay raise.
You have to make more. You have to maneuver more.
Yeah, Derek White gets a pay raise this year because his extension kicks in. He
that's
makes
the
$10 million more next year.
Yeah, so he's going to make $30 million. So the thing is that it's interesting. Hardy, what do you think? How would you handle this if Tatum's gone next year and half of the year after?
Right, because this is the exercise, and we don't know, but it looks to be, if it's an Achilles, it's all of next year. So the Derek White, and again, you just say 30. What's the big deal? 31 in July. 32 and change by the time he's out there playing again.
Yep.
Can't afford it. Can't afford to have him out there. Can't afford to pay him. Can't afford to have him be a piece of this going forward. I think you make whatever moves you can to get rid of Derek White, obviously, Drew Holiday. I would think about Porzingis at this point.
Well, Porzingis is first in line.
Is going to be. I mean, a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
But this is where my immediate thought is. What do you do to replace not necessarily Porzingis, but a Derek White type of player? And Drew Holiday ended up being way more important to last year's championship run than I expected. A lot of other people knew because what he had done in championships past. But for those two guys specifically, do you just go younger, or do you try and find some kind of veteran presence to replace them, and hopefully their game's elevated?
Well, no, you can't do that. Yeah, right.
When you're up against a cap like this, your options are severely limited. So what you're looking at
is a crappy veteran whose game might be elevated by playing with
that's
Brown
just
and Tatum.
it. Right now, your replacements for guys like Porzingis and Holiday are Luke Cornett and Peyton Pritchard. Those are your replacements, considering the cap jail you're in.
Pritchard is going to be when I'm talking about moving stuff, I'm talking about moving stuff for picks, to get picks that you could trade when you're ready, and you can get yourself into a cap position where you can add another player, like a real player, like because you're so top heavy with Brown and Tatum. We already knew that this supporting cast, it is special in its depth, in that it's just unsustainable. And we've had this conversation since before the team went on sale. No owner, you, me, anyone out there listening, would pay the penalty that's required. It's $500 million. You would not pay that penalty. It's terrible.
Yeah.
This isn't a charity.
No.
It's terrible, terrible business. I'm not giving $500 million. And plus, I don't know as a fan if you want them to.
No,
because it's going to severely restrict things in the future. Like $500 million, even to a billionaire, is a lot of money.
And I wonder, like, if in his pitch to buy the team, if Pagliuca was being a bit disingenuous when he said, we have a plan to keep this squad together and keep it moving. It's like,
I don't know how you do
what
that.
Plan?
No, I think he was disingenuous.
I don't know how you do that.
Okay, so just one more quick thing. Do you think about any of those younger pieces in terms of what you could do in order to sacrifice some depth, and these guys that you hope to build with in the future? Is there a way to move them to bring in someone else that is going to, in the aggregate, make as much as 2 or 3 other players, but you're going to give up a lot of depth in the process?
No, because Shireman and Hauser and Jordan Walsh and those guys.
No, because
Hauser specifically.
Well, no, there's not. You don't have enough to bring anyone in, and also you don't have a top 5 player on your team like that. This is not the time to be bringing in a high priced veteran. No, what are you going to bring in, Chris Paul? And then have it be Jaylen Brown and Chris Paul? Yeah. That seems to always work pretty well. I mean, look at
What about
Philadelphia look at Philadelphia and Phoenix. It's a whole situation over there. They're beautiful franchises that did so well. I mean, these are all good ideas.
Thanks.
All right.
And through conversation, we come up with these things. It's like I didn't think of like bringing James Harden in before when I got up this morning, but boom, there it is, light bulb.
You think you could pry Paul away from Philadelphia? All right. But no, Pritchard's your starting point guard. He was, regardless of what happened to Tatum, he was going to be your starting point guard, and we'll see. As much as
gives Fred a chance to
I don't dislike him.
Stretch his legs on this issue.
It's okay to dislike him.
The two of you have made it, and if Pritchard listens to the show, he's going to hate me. I never said he wasn't good. I don't know.
What did you say exactly?
I'm not positive he can be a starting point guard in the NBA on a good team. He seems to be fairly. Look, he's very skilled and a good shooter.
Yeah.
I think he's a little limited. I think he's reached, which is very rare for people, the very peak of his of what God gave him. And
you
he's
hate him because he
of it.
worked hard. You hate that he practiced really hard when he was a kid.
Well, I question the parenting. I do question that.
He can do that. Yeah, I question that too.
And we made the NBA. Well, yeah, life's a lot more than what you do. 82 games a year. Tom, go ahead.
Am I the minority that thinks that they should move on from Jaylen Brown?
Yeah.
Yes, at this point you are.
Yeah, because you got two guys that won you a championship. And listen, if Tatum, look, they were going to lose last night. If Tatum's not hurt, there's no guarantee they lose this series. You can't move Brown or Tatum because you have that foundation. Now, if you move Brown, you're really gambling.
But, I mean, that would be blowing up the roster. You're talking about getting rid of Holiday, Porzingis, White, and Horford. Those are four of your top six. And now we're talking about possibly moving Jaylen Brown.
You want me to make everyone feel better right now? Just let me counter something you just said. They weren't going to win the series. If Tatum got hurt, they were going to – no. That when Tatum got hurt, they were down 7. They had lost a 14-point lead, and they were going to lose the series.
Okay.
As much as I hate to agree with Hardy, I think he's right. They were not the better team last night.
He's not wrong.
They are. Well, me being the guy who wears the green cap all the time, I'm switching to Hardy's point of view.
Do you think it was an impossibility? Look,
they could have won
Hardy's
3 in
not
a row, but I don't think they would have.
They probably would not have. But it's happened. And,
it has.
And they could do it.
Technically, it has.
Yeah,
2 of the games would have been at home.
And let me tell you something. When everything lines up for them, they're playing an inferior team like the Miami Heat, and you absolutely destroy them in Game 5, and you push them after you're down 3-1 in a series, and you come back and you got Game 7 at the Garden in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm not saying that it's not the exact same team that it was a couple of years ago, but that team with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown on it pulled an absolute effing no-show in Game 7 at the Garden, and that's still in them somewhere.
And by the way, the Knicks didn't win because the Celtics played poorly last night. The Knicks won because they were better. That's the thing that slapped me in the face last night.
They played
the Knicks won because they were the better team.
And
better team, and they have better efforts from individual players.
And remember in that game, too, when the Knicks went on that 21-2 run, it was kind of the reverse of that. Like, every time the Celtics went on a big run, the Knicks countered with a run.
Yeah.
Like, they would get a basket to, like, stem the tide. And, by the way, Thibodeau used his timeouts yesterday. Did you see how they came out of timeouts?
Yep.
He used a timeout early during a big Celtics run. They countered with a run. He used the timeout later. He used the timeout in the second half. They countered with a run.
Every time the Celtics would get ahead.
Missoula used timeouts, but they would come out of a timeout, and instead of like having an actual player design or something, they would bring the ball across half court, whether it's Derek White or Jason Tatum, and take the first look at a 3 that they got.
I can tell you something.
You called timeout for that?
I'll tell you something that's going to happen if Tatum's hurt. And I'll tell you that.
Do it. Say it.
After the effing break.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Low testosterone, fellas. As we get older, low testosterone can cause... I get all.
obviously JT.
Who have a different head coach when he returns. I mean, just look at the way things go. Denver won a championship. Their coach is gone now. Milwaukee won a championship. Their coach is gone. It's just that, you know, losing to the Knicks in this series, And you would have been down 3-1 anyway. Like, it's not like Tatum's injury is an excuse.
It's interesting because in a year where, like you said, Tatum could be out and there could be like wholesale changes and a totally different staff, this weird eccentric style of coaching, it's awesome when you're winning. But if you've got like a slightly better than 500 basketball team and you're trying to build something, I don't know how that plays.
You think Joe's combative with Gary Washburn now? Let's see what he's like when they're 32 and 32.
But even go beyond who Missoula is. It's just what happens in the NBA. I mean, if you believe in history, I mean, it's just what happens in the NBA. I mean, these guys get fired,
and so that would be year 4.
So if Thibodeau would have gotten fired if the Knicks lost, which is believed, if Thibodeau would have been fired if the Knicks lost this series to the Celtics, certainly Missoula's on the hot seat. I mean, there's no question about it. Fair or not, that's just the way the NBA is. I mean, Denver fired their coach like 2 days before the playoffs. Brian Robb is the Celtics beat reporter from MassLive.com. You hear him filling in for Cedric Maxwell. Sometimes it's impossible to tell the difference between them. And it contributes kindly to us here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. Brian, hey, hello. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, guys.
What's up, B-Rob?
B-Rob. All right, so have you heard anything about Tatum?
We have not heard anything yet. I imagine that Joe Mazzulla said he's getting the MRI. I would imagine that's happening this morning, so it shouldn't be too long, I guess.
10 a.m.
With the, 10 right.
Right after the show's over.
10:01 a.m.
10:01.
That's how it works.
Right when you guys cannot hit the breaking news.
Right.
Exactly.
But without a doubt, just talking, I mean, being in the locker room last night, just listening to everyone, you could hear a pin drop in there. Everyone, I think, is just bracing for the worst at this point, knowing what it looked like, and you hope for Tatum it's not that. You obviously hope for the team obviously hopes it's not that for them for both now and the future. But I think there was Jaylen Brown was sitting at his locker for a good 5-10 minutes in the locker room, just kind of staring ahead, looking down, because the ramifications of what this means for this team, both in the present and the future, are huge, obviously, depending on what the end result is for Tatum here.
Well, we'll get to more of Tatum in the future in a moment, but we talked about this on the show leading into you. The Celtics were going to lose that game last night anyway, with Tatum fully healthy and scoring 42 points and having one of the better games you're ever going to see him play. I think the Celtics were on their way to losing this series anyway. How do you explain this?
This is what happened, John. You lose 2 games you should have won. Like, the Knicks are not anywhere close to you from a talent standpoint, but they also played pretty terribly offensively for the first 3 games of that series, and they still won 2 of them somehow. And so when you mess around and you blow leads in disastrous fashions at home, you leave yourself with low margin for error. So the Knicks were due to kind of have a night where Brunson goes off and Bridges goes off, and that was game 4. Like, the Celtics played pretty well for the first 2.5, 3 quarters of that game. Derek White and Tatum couldn't miss early, and it didn't matter because the Celtics couldn't stop Brunson. They couldn't stop Bridges down the stretch. I think the Knicks shot above 60% in the second half, and while the Celtics defense, weren't at their best, they were contesting a lot of those shots. But Brunson is one of the best shot makers in the league in the clutch. We saw that again, and this is a team that hasn't responded super well to adversity in crunch time this year, and we just kind of saw another example of that in Game 4 before Tatum went down.
Okay, so say Tatum didn't get hurt, and obviously I don't believe any owner would want to pay the luxury taxes that would have been imposed on this team, because this is part of the exercise. What do you think the Celtics would have done if Tatum was healthy this offseason to get themselves under that cap? Do you think they would have tried to get themselves under that cap?
Yeah, so I think they probably would have at least tried to get under the second apron. Like, they're at $227 million committed for next year. With taxes, that goes up to something crazy like $500 million, which is $100 million more than any team has ever paid in the NBA for a team. So I imagine whether it was Porzingis or Drew Holiday, like, at minimum, one of those guys would probably have been on the trade block this summer simply to cut the payroll from that. There are other options. You could move to a couple guys making less money, like Sam Taylor. But the the assumption from just talking to people around the league about it is that they're going to have to be doing some trimming, some serious trimming. Like a key rotation piece would have been out the door in order for the Celtics to get back to a payroll that was, financially sustainable, but also while trying to toe the line of still being a true contender in a league where a lot of teams are on the rise, like the Thunder, like the Wolves, etc.
All right, so now that say Tatum is hurt, I just say he ruptured his Achilles and he's gone for a year and who knows how long after that. Does that change the Celtics strategy? Like, do you try to fill in gaps? I mean, you still have to get rid of, as we just talked about, you still have to get rid of some pieces. But do you try to fill in gaps to win in his absence, or do you prepare to have some room and some maneuverability for when he returns?
That's a real tough one. I expect, honestly, there is a case to be made, Fred, for the team to do more of a full reset from a standpoint. The luxury tax for next year is $187 million. That's like the line. The Celtics right now would have to trim roughly $40 million in salary to get fully under that. The benefit of being fully under that, if you decide to take the huge step back, is you get out of something called the repeater tax for the future. If you're, the below that line for 2 years, which means the tax penalties are not as big going forward. You have more flexibility in terms of like the trades you can make, obviously like the free agent options, like the mid-level exception, et cetera. So it'd be pretty painful to do that now because you'd have to say goodbye to a couple really important pieces. But if the reality is like, this team is not going to be a contender, then it's like the financial situation speaks for itself in terms of why are you spending all this money on if you're not going to be a contender. But also it's like, how are we going to best position ourselves to be a true contender again when Jason Tatum comes back? And the answer might be to take a tough step back in the next year or two until he gets back, and then you have more weapons, more flexibility to add the pieces you need going forward. So,
okay. So what players does that mean specifically, Brian? When you say a full reset, like the biggest change scenario, what players does that involve?
I mean, if you're cutting $40 million at least, that's probably 2 rotation pieces. So Drew Holiday makes $32 million. Porzingis makes $30 million. So you move one, that doesn't do the whole thing there. I think a guy like Derek White in that scenario would be safe because he makes $20 million, but he's, I think, just too important to this team going forward. He's in his prime. That's a guy you want around for the long haul, whereas Porzingis is going to be a free agent in a year. Drew Holiday is aging, so you're not sure what he's going to look like 2 years from now. I don't think Jaylen Brown enters the conversation, but it's a conversation because he is making $53 million. I don't think you will get anything that would intrigue you on that front if you're the Celtics, but I don't think you can rule out any possibilities going forward if it's the worst case scenario here with Tatum, because it's going to be pretty hard to build around two supermax players in the long term in this new NBA CBA, which is very restrictive and very tough on teams in terms of what they can spend when they have so much money committed to 2 guys. So when you look at that, and then you obviously have guys like Al Horford, who's a free agent this summer. Like I imagine you're probably saying goodbye to a player like that unless he's signing back for super cheap because he's 38 years old already.
All right, what do you think this means for the future of Missoula?
I mean, I think Joe's going to be around. Him and Tatum are super tight by all accounts, and Joe did win a title last year, so I think he is going to get you're not going to say goodbye to him in the wake of this injury. With that said, the challenge for him becomes pretty daunting out of the gate here, trying to build a team, whatever the team is left here after this offseason, which could very well obviously not have Tatum for the next season. Like that is going to be a very challenging task. And, Fred, I mean, shelf life for coaches in the NBA, it's a very cruel business, as we've seen this year with like a guy like Mike Malone getting fired a week or two before the playoffs start, like a couple of years off a championship. So but the guys on this team love Missoula. They play hard for him. So I think he is going to get a pretty long runway to make this work. Obviously, if the Celtics are still in the series, I still honestly think this series could easily go 6 or 7 games. I mean, they could win this series still. I still think even without Tatum, you do have a chance to come back here if everyone plays to their peak. But this is certainly going to be the most challenging endeavor of Missoula's career coming up here if the news is as bad as expected on Tatum.
Yeah, it's just go ahead.
Brian, how can you say they have a chance to win the series still? They weren't going to win that game last night. Even had Tatum stayed in, they had blown another lead. They were down 7 when he went down, and the game was trending in the wrong direction. Forget about the series. They weren't even going to win that game, much less win the rest of them going forward.
I gave him like a 20% chance to win the series. But yeah, the Knicks played out of their mind, Hardy. The Knicks played out of their mind in that second half.
Yeah. Which the Celtics have had trouble. The Celtics have had trouble doing in this series. They don't play well down the stretch. They did once.
No, it's fair. I don't expect the Knicks. I fully expect to win the series, but I'm not it would not be the biggest shock ever if the Celtics came back. It's not gonna happen in all likelihood. Jalen, Porzingis has to play out of their mind. Everything would have to go right. But from a talent standpoint, just man-to-man in this series, even without Tatum, this is still – it's not like it's an unfair fight for the Celtics. It's they would have to go into the Garden in Game 6 and do something crazy to even force a Game 7. But this is still a fair fight even without Tatum and Flo. It's just not playing back from a 3-1 for any team, but is brutal, much less when you don't have your best player.
My question was just about Missoula's future, and you mentioned the reality. If you look at Milwaukee fires a coach after a championship, Denver fires a coach after a championship. There was a lot of talk of Thibodeau being fired by the Knicks if they lost this series. I don't know if that would have happened or not, but that was the talk. It's just for me, and I like Missoula, and I think Missoula is a good coach. It's just I'm just looking at, as you said, the way that NBA coaches are kind of treated is that say they do lose this series. If they win this series, they ain't going anywhere. But say you lose this series, and then Tatum's gone a year. The patience of ownership and all that stuff comes into play. I just question. I mean, they're certainly not firing him this offseason. If I'm Missoula, I don't feel so great. If I'm Missoula, I'm looking at my mortgage statements and going, how many more of these do I have to pay? That's all. So we'll see. It's not necessarily fair, but unfortunately, it's the reality of the business. Brian, Rob, great stuff. You are so up to date on these luxury tax implications and all those things.
He's got a complete article dedicated to it up at masslive.com.
And it couldn't be more, what is it, prescient? Prescient, is that it? You're a writer, Brian. Is that what the word is, prescient?
Sure.
Depends on how you're about to use it, but prescient is a word.
Okay, sure.
Okay, it could be more Well, he wrote this after Tatum was injured.
Yes.
Yeah, so it couldn't be more
timely.
Okay.
Does prescient mean timely?
No, prescient means you're
looking for apropos.
Predicting the future is when you're prescient.
Oh, I used it wrong.
So
it couldn't be more timely.
Yes, B-Rob, nice job. Everyone read it. MassLive.com.
And Brian, we all learned vocabulary today. So there you go.
Win-win for everyone.
All right, Brian, read all his stuff at masslive.com. Brian, thanks so much for the time.
All right, thanks for having me, guys.
B-Rob.
All right, there you go. The great Brian Robb.
Prescient.
Just say precious. It couldn't be more precious.
Oh, there you go.
I love when people do that, guys especially. I love when people say cozy, too. That's a lot of fun.
I say it on the golf course. I'm going to cozy this shot up there. Just get in about 4 feet and go up there and miss the putt.
You keep those bull cards nice and far from the green. All right, I'll tell you this.
Or you're going to get a letter.
Indeed, you are. All right, let's take some phone calls on the Celtics. I have to do one break on Jordan Hudson. It's in my contract, but we could do that at 8. All right, we'll be right back.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
There's bad news and there's worse news concerning the Celtics this morning. They lost to the Knicks last night, 121-113. They now trail this playoff series 3-1, and they lost Jason Tatum to a non-contact injury to his lower right leg. He took a wheelchair back to the locker room, an MRI scheduled for this morning, and Tatum scored 42 points last night in the loss. Game 5 tomorrow night at TD Garden. And the Red Sox thumped in Detroit by the Tigers 14-2. Tigers scored 9 runs on the bottom of the third inning. Tanner Houck didn't get out of the third inning and took the loss. His ERA is now over 8 for the season. The two teams will play again tonight. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the 99 Restaurants. Visit the Nines the day after the Red Sox win and get a free kids meal with every adult entree purchased. You gotta love the Nines. I'm John Wallach on Boston Hill for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8 o'clock.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Dreaming.
Dutcher and Hardy.
I no longer love things.
Let's go. Let's ride.
98.5.
Like, let's roll the dice. Part of the following year. Teddy, go ahead, sir.
Hey, guys. How you doing this morning?
Hey, what's up,
I just got a couple questions. What do you guys think with the low possibility of us winning the series? I mean, what are the next steps with, Brown and Porzingis and obviously the injury of Tatum? That's our main priority,
Yeah, we've been talking about this. Regardless of what happened, Porzingis was gone because there was no way they were going to pay that, and you wouldn't either. Like anyone who is like, cheap ownership, no, it's $500 million. So they're not doing that. And then there was a good chance Holiday, given his age and salary, would be gone. But where the interesting conversation lies is, look, if you're not going to win this series and you're not going to win this year and you're not going to win next year, you're obviously not going to get rid of Brown. You're not going to get rid of Tatum, but you're going to have to build around the two of them. And if Tatum's not around next year and you're kind of writing off 26, 27 a little bit too, but maybe he could be healthy for the playoffs, do you start cutting salary and acquiring picks to kind of be in a position where you could make a move when Tatum's healthy? And that's the argument.
It was kind of interesting that when we talked to B, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it was kind of interesting when B-Rob said, I don't think they do anything with Jaylen Brown, which would seem ludicrous. Jaylen Brown was the reason why you won the championship last year. But they are in such dire straits when it comes to the luxury aprons and everything else they have to contend with. And with a year, presumably, maybe, without Tatum next year, if this injury ends up being as bad as some people think it might be, then you can't take any of those conversations off the table.
It's just odd that you figure Al Horford's not back next season. You're going to try and get rid of Porzingis. You're going to try and get rid of Drew Holiday. Those are three of your top six. And you get rid of Brown. That's four.
My question is this, though. If you get rid of Brown, how do you get someone as good as Brown back on the roster?
You can't. You have 5 years from now, hopefully you draft somebody that ends up being that good.
You lucked out by getting him to begin with.
You're most likely not going to get a pick that high. And so my thing is this, is that you have your luxury is you have Brown and Tatum. I mean, Tatum's going to come back. He's still going to be in his prime. You have Brown and Tatum. But let's just say, for the case of argument, let's just not complicate things. Let's just say you're keeping Brown and Tatum. Okay.
Yeah. Guys, I got one more question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I got one more. What do you guys think are the possibilities? Trading away a couple key values and picks, and maybe getting Giannis for our new big man.
There's no
chance.
way they can compete. There's good teams that can do it. Like Oklahoma City could do it.
Houston can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, there are at least three or four off the top of my head. The Celtics have low first-round picks and, Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. You're not getting Giannis for that.
What do you guys think is the new big man? I mean, Porzingis gone. Who's going to be the big man?
Well, at the moment, you re-sign Luke Cornett. That's the new big man. That's what they can afford.
Okay. All right.
Unless you can find someone that we're not thinking of. I mean, unless you can go into free agency and find someone. You're not going to draft
comes back
anyone.
for the veteran minimum. Maybe you play him, but he's 39. So, I mean,
listen, if Horford wants to come back and you like his influence and he's still a decent player, then bring back Horford. I mean, that doesn't change anything.
But
He doesn't make any money.
Come back for a team that's going to be the 7th seed in the East?
I have a feeling Horford would come back here. I think he likes it here. But that's like, who cares, really? If you want Horford, I mean, he can't be your big man. I mean, he can't play big minutes the whole season.
Can't play back-to-backs?
Right. I mean, you're gonna have to do so. Horford is like whatever. Like, he seems like a really good guy. He's a good teammate. He's probably good to have in the locker room. He's still a valuable player.
And they'll probably also draft a big. They have picks 28 and 32 next month. You'll draft a college kid that can fill in too.
Oh,
I'm not saying he'll be good.
I'm not saying he can play.
It's a body. That'll be your third big. The body.
I don't know if you get a body the third pick in the draft, let alone down at the end of the first. I think you get a body the first 2 picks in the draft, and after that, I don't know what you're getting. Now you're telling me the other kid from Rutgers is 3 inches shorter than they said he was.
That's what I was reading last night.
Maji. That's like that. Then he stinks. Then I don't know who's going where. I mean,
Ryan Kalkbrenner of Creighton. Welcome to the Celtics.
I mean, Jesus Christ! I mean,
kid
this is not a good
kid from Florida. Their backup center. Condon.
I thought you meant Con Knipple.
No. No.
Con Knipple. Yes, Con Knipple could go fourth in this draft. And
Alex Condon.
Good luck with him.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this. That you could get Thomas Sorbert from Georgetown.
That's right. There you go.
Remember him in college? And that's it. That's the end.
I'm not saying anybody's going to make an impact. What I'm saying is, I bet you they take a center with one of those two picks they have. 28 and 32.
Well, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Why doesn't Xavier Tillman? I had heard someone calling and said they should play Xavier Tillman more.
Oh.
He barely played at Michigan State.
Barely played this season.
Brian, go ahead.
Hey, guys. Good morning. Hey, so I'm of the mind of moving away from Missoula, and the reason is not because the three-point strategy doesn't always work. It does work at times. But this series exposed a flaw that he cannot make adjustments when that strategy is not working. And so I don't think you're not going to be good next year, right, without Tatum. 2 years from now, you're going to be able to have the same strategy with the players that you don't even know who you're going to have.
No, you're going to have to
go away from Missoula.
You're going to have to come up with a new strategy, but make no mistake, it is not that he doesn't want to change. The strategy continues to be when the 3-point shot isn't working, you keep taking threes until it works. That is the strategy.
There's a minor tweak to that. You remember in Game 2, they didn't shoot as many threes, and against Orlando, who ran them off the threes, they went to the basket a ton.
In Game 2?
Of this series, yes, in Game 2.
They shot 40, instead of 60. I'll tell you, the thing about Missoula that I would worry about is that you lost, if they lose this series, that you lost to the second round of the playoffs. And that, again, I'll just say, New York was saying that there was a very real chance Thibodeau would have been fired if the Knicks lost this series. And the Knicks were big underdogs in this series. So if that was on the table, they're not firing Missoula this season. And I'm not for anyone getting fired. I'm just saying, given the history of the NBA, recent history, it's winning a championship means nothing. It means nothing.
No.
They fired Denver's coach 2 years after a championship. They fired Milwaukee's coach. Was it the year after or 2 years after?
Remember the late. Now I know you don't count it as a true championship, but Frank Vogel at the Lakers, he got fired a year or two later.
That's a LeBron James team.
And by the way, Vogel was the head coach in Phoenix who got fired before Budenholzer came in, and he got fired. So, yes, it's a thankless business. But getting back to Missoula, maybe he'll be back next season. The time to look for Missoula to possibly be let go is a year from now.
Yeah.
If they win 45 or 46 games, right or wrong with the roster, however it is, it's a win-now business. And
or they lose in the first round.
And you have new owners.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's when you take a look at this.
And even with the cuts in salary that they're making and Tatum being hurt, I mean, they're still paying out a lot of money. Caller number 10 to the contest line, 617-931-0985, I take it. It's written wrong.
Oh, boy.
We'll score a pair. You're lucky I'm Johnny on the spot. We'll score a pair of tickets to see Iggy Pop and the Sex Pistols and the Molotovs at the stage of Suffolk Downs, courtesy of Bowery Presents. Tickets on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. Visit stage@suffolkdowns.com. Stage@suffolkdowns.com. All right. We appreciate your calls. Stay on the line. But we do have to talk about Jordan Hudson briefly. So let us do that. Please, will you allow me one moment of pleasure? We will have that for you. But if you're on the line, we'll take your calls. Stick around.
Tatum scored 42 points, but suffered what appeared to be a lower right leg injury with about 3 minutes to go and took a wheelchair back to the locker room during a 121-113 road loss to the Knicks. Tatum was down for several minutes after a non-contact play when he planted his right foot and collapsed. Kristaps Porzingis' team is now down 3-1 in this playoff series and more than likely down their best player, too.
We're grown men, obviously it's tough to see, but who hasn't had injuries, and it's a part of this sport, part of this game, and we feel for him, of course, but we have to move forward, He don't want us to be over here, sad and not play our best basketball. So we're going to go out there and leave it all out there and live with the result.
The Knicks got 39 points from Jalen Brunson in the win. Game 5 is at TD Garden tomorrow night. Minnesota took a 3-1 lead on Golden State late last night in San Francisco with a 117-110 win. At the NBA's draft lottery, Dallas is your winner. They are expected to take Duke star freshman Cooper Flagg, number 1 overall. And Detroit beat the Red Sox 14-2 at Comerica Park last night. Tigers got 9 runs in the third inning to end all the suspense. Trey Sweeney and Gleyber Torres each homered and drove in 3 runs apiece for the winners. Brian Bayo will face the Tigers tonight. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Rodenheiser Home Services. For a limited time, Rodenheiser is offering up to $2,000 off a new AC system. And with next-day installation, flexible financing and rebates, now's the time. Go to Rodenheiser.com for your free estimate. I'm John Wallach of Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
To us, Boston pride runs deep.
I'm a Bostonian!
This is Boston's Home for Sports.
Bow, bow, bow!
98.5 The Sports Hub. Fred, what's it like to work with Hardy and Wallach?
What a golden ticket I've gotten.
There you have it. Toucher and Hardy resumes on the Sports Hub.
I mean, the loss is the loss. More importantly.
So you're from Long Island. Where from Long Island?
All right. So I'm not from Long Island. I was actually born in Worcester, Mass. I work in Greenport, the East End. Southampton, Carl Yastrzemski, one of the best Red Sox ever, is from this area. Charlie McAvoy's from Nassau County.
Oh, I know. I know that.
Yeah. Well, so I've been stuck, unfortunately, here for a while working. But I have some positivity to shed on, I think, a pretty grim situation. I don't think we're going to lose. I don't think we're going to lose the series, and I'm probably going to get torn up for saying this. But I've watched this city overcome a lot, I believe. And if we don't, guess what? I believe the future is still bright. I like Joe Mazzulla as a coach. My question to you guys is there any young players we have now that stand out as not maybe role filling for a long-term solution, but anyone that could step up that you believe could give us a boost?
What, in this series?
Yeah, in this series, and you're talking about Tatum, how long he's going to be out, and
yeah.
Really
who's on the team right now who could step up and help?
Oh boy,
like in the long and fill the void in the long term. Nobody.
No, you have Bayless Shireman, who was taken at the bottom of the first round. Jordan Walsh was a second-round pick from 2 years ago.
Forget about where they were picked, John. What do you see in these kids? Jesus.
The answer.
What about Davison?
J.D. Davison, the G League MVP. Hardy?
Yeah.
So the plan, I believe, was to get rid of Holiday and Porzingis, in that you were going to have Pritchard be your starting point guard, and kind of do what you've been doing with Porzingis being gone. I think Horford would have stuck around for a year, and then Cornette would have been involved in that, and all
Luke
those.
Cornette, free agent, by the way.
Okay, so
they'll re-sign Cornette.
Okay,
I mean, you got to re-sign Cornette.
Has Cornette been what you expected, better or worse?
Better.
Me too.
Better.
Yeah.
Me too.
Better this year.
Yeah, I mean, but
I don't know if better is the word. Has made more contributions than I thought.
But that was what you were going to do. Now that Tatum is gone, you have nobody. There's no one to fill that void. I mean, he's top 5 player in the NBA. There's no one, and there's no one they're getting.
Torrey Craig.
In fact, you have to make moves, not for next year, in my opinion. You have to make moves for 2-3 years from now.
Did you know Torrey Craig was on the team, or did you just look at a roster?
Well, he didn't play last night, but it was a coach's decision.
Did you know Torrey Craig was on the team?
No, we've talked about Torrey Craig before because of my fascination that he played for a school called South Carolina Upstate, which we've talked about.
I forgot about that.
And then John goes, "Oh, I know that school," and you're like, "Do you?"
Yeah.
I know Tory Burch.
You know why he knows South Carolina upstate? Because of the level of schools that this dumbass could get into. They had a clarinet program that was
not true. Not true. Hobart had a great clarinet program.
Joe, go ahead. But you had had the best in
Lexington High School. Yeah.
Joe, go ahead.
Hey, guys, thanks for taking my call. I've got an observation, a question, and an idea. The observation is that having torn my own Achilles, the training staff knows right away.
Right.
It takes 5 seconds to tell if an Achilles is torn. So they're either figuring out a way to package this for Celtics Nation, or he did something else to his ankle. You don't need an MRI, no question. My question is, where has Peyton Pritchard gone? Last year, he's hitting threes from half court. This series feels like
Pritchard had a great game 3. I mean, Pritchard just came off a great game 3.
You going to judge his success on whether or not he hits half-court three-point desperation shots?
No, of course not. But I'm just saying, I expected more from him in this series, and we haven't seen it.
Well, he might have been your second best player in Game 3, so I think
he led
that's
the team
unfair.
in scoring in Game 3, I believe.
Yeah, so I think that's an unfair appraisal of Peyton Pritchard. I don't know what you were expecting from him.
Hold on a second. Let me just pull up the box score real quick from Game 3.
He went Bernard King in 84.
Peyton Pritchard played 35 minutes, gave you 23 points.
Yeah, led the team in scoring.
Yeah.
Because he didn't hit a half-court 3 like he did against Dallas in the NBA Finals.
Well, I'll tell you, listen. This guy's like me. He knows this kid stinks.
He's sixth man of the year in the NBA this year.
The one game that they're going to win in this series, Peyton Pritchard was your leading scorer, but he hasn't given you enough. Okay.
No, I think that's an unfair assessment. Nick, go ahead.
Hey, Fred, huge fan. I've been listening for probably about 10, 12 years. I just wanted to make a quick take on Mazzulla. I kind of disagree with you, Fred. I think he should be fired. I think he was gifted a championship
You mean
last
fired?
year.
I didn't say. Wait. I didn't say he shouldn't be fired. You think he should be fired this year, though?
I'm leaning towards it only because, like, last year, get it, he won, but you could have coached that team, Fred. You could have coached that team. Every team they played was injured, and by the finals, Luka was gassed. Had nothing left in the tank. And then this year, the adjustments that should be made, that, like, I'm like a coach from the couch, that should be made, and he's not calling timeouts because his players are going to figure it out. Well, that's what you're paid for as the coach. They're not figuring out. You call a timeout, you regroup, you get Tatum an easy bucket so he can start hitting those threes. You don't just keep launching 19 from a quarter. As I said, I'm not a professional. I know I couldn't coach in the NBA, but I can make that assessment.
I'll tell you this, is that if you go based on what he's done in his failure against Miami, the path to win the championship last year, and the idea that he's going to lose in the second round this year, and then you look at what's happened to other coaches that have won championships, Denver, Milwaukee, these guys, winning the championship seems to mean nothing. Given that, I don't think there's any way they fire Mazzulla after this season. If they did, it wouldn't be unprecedented. But I do think there's a good chance that Mazzulla is not the coach when Tatum comes back.
You can complain about his timeouts. Game 1 of this series, his timeouts were non-existent, and
it's not even
results.
that big of an indictment on the coach because the NBA coaches get fired unless you're Popovich. I mean, they just
Popovich probably should have been fired. Results. Let's just go by results, not in-game stuff. Results. Fair. You're the teams you've coached have been disappointing. You won a championship, and it counts.
Mm-hmm.
But you really weren't tested, and then you're gonna most likely lose in the second round this year, and you would have lost probably with Tatum. I mean, you're down 3-1 with Jason Tatum. That's not great. It really isn't. It's a very disappointing result, and you were expected to kind of roll. We were talking. Look, man, Cleveland's not even going to be in it. All you had to do is beat the Knicks in Indiana, and then if you would have lost to the finals, no one would have blamed you.
Yeah, well, even fully healthy, I don't know if they beat that OKC team.
Right, but but it wasn't the toughest road to the finals this year.
I understand it is about results, and I understand just looking at it from way up, losing in the second round is not good. But we went over it on this show. how many open shots? The offense worked.
I know.
Everything that Missoula wanted, people are upset about them shooting from three. They made an adjustment in game 2. They went to the basket more. That's a coaching adjustment. How many open shots did they miss?
They did, but do you think that I can't remember his name, the coach from Denver forgot how to coach?
Malone.
Mike Malone forgot how to coach?
No, I know that. But that
was
doesn't.
It Budenholzer? Was that Budenholzer, who just got fired again?
Right. He won a championship with Giannis in Milwaukee, went to Phoenix with Kevin Durant, and the players decided they didn't like him. And Phoenix was terrible this year. And Budenholzer, after one season, got fired. After they had one season, Frank Vogel, who also has another title, and got fired.
Budenholzer won a championship with not as good a team as the Celtics team. He won a championship, and then he got fired, a year later? And so, that's the NBA. You underperform. If you don't meet expectations, and they haven't. Losing this series to the Knicks is not good. It doesn't look good. I wouldn't fire him this offseason.
And I agree. He'll get at least one more year.
Right, but they're not going to be very good next year, and then I would probably fire him after that. That's just the way the NBA goes. There's Popovich. There's a situation in Miami because Pat Riley has got full control of that team, and he's got his guy coaching.
Spolster is never going to be fired.
No, Spolster's never going to be fired, but these are odd situations. Everyone else is getting fired every day.
Yeah.
It's like the Steelers. Tomlin's never going to get fired, and then they keep coaches forever. It's just there's certain anomalies. Dan, go ahead.
Hey, what's going on, boys?
Hey.
The question about Jaylen Brown's trade value, does he have this lingering knee injury that's going to be possibly with surgery in the offseason?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if he needs surgery, but I'll tell you, I don't think there's any way they should or would trade Jaylen Brown right now. I just don't. I don't know how you would get equal value for him. And you're not in a situation like Milwaukee where they have Giannis and nothing else, so they have to move Giannis because Lillard's gone. Lillard's just tore his Achilles, and he's gone, right? Achilles?
Yes.
Okay.
Same injury.
Same injury.
Only he's 8 years older.
Yeah, he's older, so he's gone. So you put all your eggs in that basket. Now you got to trade Giannis, who's saying now he's open to it. Yes. You got to trade Giannis, and you got to completely rebuild. The Celtics obviously are in that situation. I don't know what you would get for Brown and who you would bring in. There's too many teams that screw around with that and bring in a Harden or a Paul or a Durant or bring in these guys, and it never don't give me Durant worked in Golden State. They won without him. You bring in these guys, they take over the team, and
Durant went to Golden State so he could win one.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other thing,
can't do it with OKC.
Yeah, that whole OKC threesome that was supposed to be the balls. The only guy that's got a championship is Durant because he cherry picked one.
Real quick about Jaylen Brown and a possible surgery during the offseason. Everything we know is that he has a bone bruise and an inflammation of the meniscus. I don't know if that requires surgery or not, but. And macro of it is teams go draft in the top 5 for years looking for players like Jaylen Brown.
No.
You're not trading Jaylen Brown.
No, you don't. You have your two pieces. Now,
NBA Finals MVP, Eastern Conference Finals MVP. You're not.
You should have been on the Olympic team.
Yes.
This is a guy that you don't get rid of. This is a top 20 talent. You don't get rid of him. He's young, relatively young. He's still in his prime. You don't get rid of him. And then but you do have to think about when Tatum comes back, what kind of position you want to be in. And I would say maybe you have to make some moves to free up money and to get some assets so when Tatum is healthy, you can make a move for an established player because Lord knows you're not drafting one. So you're just not going to. You have a 1 in 300 chance of getting a kid that's going to be a very good player for you,
especially the way the draft is now with kids coming in 18 years old from overseas, mediocre players. You were talking about that kid Sorber from Georgetown, mediocre, decent center, but is going to be taken in the first round of the draft. I mean, that's what you're stuck with, picking where the Celtics are going to be picking. Even next year. They're not in the lottery next year. With Jaylen Brown on the team and maybe Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, they're not in the lottery next year. They're going to the playoffs. So you pick it in the middle of the first round instead of near the top where you need to be. So you're stuck with these kinds of players. And, yeah, it is a 1 in 300 chance that you get someone where you're picking that's going to make an impact right away and then develop into something.
Yeah. All right. Look, we'll talk about the Celtics a lot more, but there is a more pressing issue. We have not talked about Bill Belichik and Jordan Hudson. Bill Belichik is being interviewed today. ESPN is covering the ACC Media Day today on the network.
Oh, nice.
Because they're interviewing the Notre Dame women's basketball coach as well.
Oh, good.
So you had to figure that would normally be held on ESPN. They would interrupt their programming day for this. But they are talking to Belichik. There's a tremendous amount of pressure on Strahan on Friday. There really is. There really is.
Mad Dog thinks he's going to step up to the plate.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't think that. Did you listen to the show?
I did. I listened to the clip. I
He
didn't
doesn't.
listen to the whole show.
Well, you got to listen to the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
I listened in my hour and a half drive to Braintree yesterday. I talked to my daughter and I listened to Mad Dog.
Okay.
Mad Dog does not think that
Okay.
Strahan's going to press.
Then the clip I saw has led me astray, Fred.
And then I learned about Bill Belichick's book and the 3 mistakes he said he made in it, and they're really bad. I'll tell you about those 3 mistakes in just a moment.
More.
read the Bill Belichik Art of Winning book, and there's a chapter where he admits 3 mistakes. One of them was not kicking a field goal in the first Super Bowl. One of them was which they won.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
The other one was another game they won, and I can't remember. And the third was not drafting Lamar Jackson, which is a little interesting because it's a dish on Brady. So that's not just me.
Oh, I thought I had the same.
We should probably keep talking.
All right, there we go. Now we're gone.
Ah.
Well, can someone get an engineer would be a good thing.
Yeah.
You guys have the instincts of Panther in the job.
Don't you worry about it.
Yeah, we'll let it work itself out.
You see Nick?
In that. Now, an update, not only did we get a cease and desist before we played any audio at all.
Yes.
From the pageant people, we got another legal letter yesterday from someone else. And Adam, do your best to explain it and do it in a conversational way.
Sure. So I took the stuff that we did yesterday and I put it on the website, 985thesportshub.com, and was informed that I shouldn't be talking about getting a cease and desist from the Miss Maine pageant because it was actually the Miss Maine USA pageant that took place in Portland over the weekend. 2 completely different entities. Miss Maine over here, Miss Maine USA over there. Miss Maine over here is under the Miss America pageant umbrella. They don't want anything to do with the Miss Maine USA.
Right. So Jordan Hudson is so impressive that the people that carried the pageant that she lost didn't want anyone playing audio from it because it was such a disaster, I'd have to assume. And is such a disaster that the people that aren't affiliated with that pageant don't want to in any way be associated with her.
That is correct. Now that
and they're bringing in legal teams, some of which you can't spell, but nonetheless, it's got everyone on their toes. It's got Adam sending very long texts.
Now there were terms and conditions from the pageant.tv that you're not allowed to use that. But Fred, if you were to have a microphone, say right outside the doors of the pageant while it was going on, and you're in the lobby of this hotel, and you just happen to pick up audio of the pageant as it's going on, that would be okay.
Absolutely. You're not using the pageant's broadcast. You could absolutely do that.
Luckily, we have that recording. Now, this is at the Holiday Inn by the Bay in
Okay,
Portland,
because
Maine.
usually they sweep that for any kind of listening devices because they usually have when they have dignitaries in town.
Right, but this is totally okay to use because, again, this is not actually at the pageant. We're not using their feed.
No, it was
This is our
actually
own
in a
stuff.
yogurt container in the Continental Breakfast.
Yeah, well, there's a tiny bit of room noise from the lobby, but otherwise you can fully hear what's going on inside the pageant.
Right, you can hear the Morocco, the royalty clinging glasses. With
opening the door to the pageant, and once the door closes, it's a little harder to hear, but you can still hear it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, let's give a big Pine Tree State round of applause for our 5 finalists.
You can still hear the pageant.
Attention all hotel guests. Number 1, the waffle maker in our complimentary continental breakfast room has malfunctioned, and that's what the alarm is for. Also, could the parents of the U7 New Brunswick hockey team please collect your players in the lobby?
There was a lot of action, you're saying.
Well, you can still hear the pageant going on, though, and that's okay to use.
Yes, that absolutely is okay to use because the New Brunswick hockey team had to be collected. Well, Pablo Torre is the man who's got all this information, and it gets more and more exciting. Here is the latest nugget that he had from yesterday. His theory also, by the way, is that on June 1st, there's $1 million buyout for Belichick's contract. There's no guarantee that's not exercised by the school to get him out of there. Here is Pablo Torre talking about something else.
Bill Belichik, to the people he's doing these media projects with, is repeatedly calling Jordan brilliant. He is telling them, you need to hire Jordan. He told one of these media companies, I am told, that they should hire her for a 6-figure salary as part of their deal with him to make
him not have to spend so much money. By the way, there is a lot of
someone else
someone
get this
hire
albatross out of my life.
You know how rich guys like buy their wives like consignment shops and like in like little like boutiques.
You see the dress stores with like 4 dresses in it.
Yeah. My mother-in-law had one of those things.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It was a real. He was just like, go do this. But I had a tough day at work. Did you? But yeah, he's like, yeah, please hire her, get her away. She's ruining my life. This is the only time that Belichik seemed at all with it. Is that he said, yeah, can you go hire Jordan to a 6-figure salary? I just gave this broad $8 million to buy some property in Dorchester. By the way, the new speculations they met when she was 19.
Yes.
And now go out and talk to a 19-year-old and then come back to me and say how comfortable that conversation was. I defy you to go out and talk to a 19-year-old girl and then come back to me and go, we had a connection.
How old is your daughter, Hardy?
18.
Yeah, I defy you. Defy you to do that. And imagine now being 69 or whatever he was, hell yeah, and talking to a 19-year-old girl. Imagine like talking to a 19-year-old girl and going like, wow, we're having like a real flirtatious thing happening here. This is great. You would feel so bad about yourself. It would be unbelievable. I'm not kidding. And he could be my dad easily.
Oh yeah.
Easily be my dad. This guy's 23 years older than me.
the show in question. But you can imagine what that work environment was like, where she was on every single call, every single email. They had to go through her. She ran his life. Media partners had to go to her to get to him. They commuted together all the time from Boston to New Jersey. She was calling people into meetings. And connecting back to the CBS interview, she again didn't seem clear on how cameras and hot mics worked. And I say that because in another infamous story that circulated among dozens of people on set at the NFL film studio, Bill Belichik, Katie Nolan, you can imagine this, right? He's wearing a mic. She is whispering to him.
Oh, no.
Off camera somewhere.
Oh, God.
The problem is that there are these things in television called control rooms.
And so what it sounded like was, psst, psst, damn it. Psst. That was Bill Belichick trying to take a leak. And then you heard drip, 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 drip. You got to change pants, Bill.
Tap, tap.
Tap, tap.
Drip, drip. Tap, tap.
Yeah, can you give me something to wipe up with? I got dribble. Damn price.
I have a couple of paper towels. I'll just shove them down the front here.
Can someone give me a blow dryer and some paper towels? I peed myself a little bit. I didn't pee myself. It's just drippage.
And at NFL Films headquarters, as Bill Belichik and Jordan Hudson are mic'd up, they proceed to hear them talking shit about all sorts of people.
And by the way, what two brilliant people that are wearing mics that think that there's no way that they could possibly be on. What a PR person, A. And then Bill Belichik, further evidence of his brilliance, that this is a guy that has done nothing but speak in front of the media for his entire adult life. And this idiot doesn't know that he's wearing a hot mic. I mean, I'm a JV stupid local radio DJ. And I've the few times, the 100 times I've worn a lapel mic, I've been a little careful about walking around with it on.
But again, this is the Bears thing coming back. I think Bears was the guy who would make sure he didn't say anything, or he would go into the control room and say, "Turn that mic off when he's not being recorded."
Okay, so they needed to hire someone. Yeah. Did they put a helmet on him too?
This all goes back to the slurping and the smacking and the snorting and the hemming and hawing, where we thought he was playing chess. Where it's like, no, maybe he just didn't even understand checkers.
Most adults don't need another adult to follow them around going, oh, by the way, there's a live mic on you. Maybe it would be the mic they put on you. When they reached under your shirt to put the lapel mic on, on the TV show you're doing. How do you think they picked up your voice, idiot? Why do you think they put their you've all worn lapel mics. They shove it up your shirt and put it on your collar. What do you think that does? It amplifies your voice, you idiot. Ay, ay, ay. I mean, this guy's is a full moron. Maybe that's why he likes 19-year-olds so much and they can teach him so much. Because he's on a 5th grade learning level and then the 19-year-old blew him away. Now I believe how they met. You can read? Teach me book. I don't have bears here. I know my phone number. I can prove it to you. What a moron. The two of those idiots bumping heads. They don't know a mic's on. This is a scene from Police Academy.
They're talking about graphics. They're talking so much about the graphics people. They are not aware that dozens of people can hear them talk.
How?
Jordan. Katie Nolan has been on TV her whole life, too. She's married to Dan Soder, who's been on radio and TV his whole life. This is unbelievable. The idiocy. And it's idiocy. I'm no hyperbole. They're morons. Morons! And that guy acted like he was better than anyone else and treated everyone else like crap. Meanwhile, he's got 2 Tweedledee birds flying around in his head in a circle. Somewhere Nick's like, I could beat this guy in Scrabble. Nick and him play Scrabble. It's all vowels. Nick, I'm sorry to bring you into the equation. You're much more intelligent than him. He couldn't edit video. I trust you with my social media accounts.
How are you not aware? You need just...
Well, because you're a brain-dead idiot. That's how.
How are you not aware? You need just... but everybody knows this trick. How are you not aware?
Let me also... Okay, here's what I'm going to say. I think, this is a principle of my life, talking behind people's back is totally fine. I encourage it.
I
think
actually
it's
believe
great.
there's studies that have shown it's like important for human society to have that.
So
like
now there's
Yes.
that.
Science
so I think that's total. I think you should talk about all the people, but everything goes out the window if they hear you. If they hear you, it's a whole different. It's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
They heard them.
That's pretty tough. That's
That
really
sucks.
tough. And you're saying that's all, and that didn't get out, even though
That
they're
has
mad.
not gotten out.
Yeah.
Why is everyone going to him and not me? I want to be the guy that gets all this stuff. And just for my own entertainment, even if I wasn't on the radio, I would love to be talking to these people. This is just a theory, but it's a hypothesis that I'm fairly, if I was a scientist, I'd be like, let's get some other guys on this because I think it could be published. I think he might be talking to the family.
You think?
Yes, and he said that
Yeah.
there's been concern since the ring cam video and how that got out, which no one else seemed concerned but me.
Good
Right,
for him.
right. I questioned, how does that ring camera footage get out? Oh, it was a neighbor. Okay, well then how does it get out if it's the neighbor? Don't you go to the neighbor? Hey, could you please take down the ring camera footage of my boyfriend, the big fat Bill Belichik walking around? After all, his boobs are not covered. He doesn't like it. He's confused.
Sean brought up on email, yes, same Bill that didn't know his mic was on was the same guy who texted Brian Flores instead of Brian Dayball.
That's right.
Yeah. You know why? Because he's a moron. He's a real moron. And he went and talked to a 19-year-old girl and said, this is someone I'm going to have sex with and give access to my career and money. There you go. And and half of you were like, he's a stud. Yeah, stud. Big stud. Big stud. Big stud. Big idiot. His book, do you know that his book, there are parts that you can color in, though, so he has given that to you. Because it's the only way he could get through it. Mm-hmm. The galleys is he needed to be able to color. There's a way that you can draw like Robert Kraft missing teeth and have a good laugh. There's Mad Libs in it, too. He gets a big kick out of those.
Crossword? No. Word search.
I've made 3 mistakes in my
Crossword
coaching
takes
career
too
that I regret. One of them is when we won a Super Bowl. What a humble man. What a man that's really taken a shined a light onto his life.
Is there a Sudoku? No, there's a maze.
Yeah.
This is Shakespeare, baby. This
TGI
pompous a-hole talk down to everyone is really burning to the ground because he's all behind that Oz. He's the Wizard of Oz. Behind that big old curtain was just another dumb, brain-dead idiot. Like your worst gym teacher. There you go. So there you go. There's your Bill Belichik of the day. Now, see how we forgot about Tatum for a minute and made everyone feel good?
Now we'll talk about Tatum again.
Yeah. So now, Tatum I feel bad for. I don't feel bad for Bill Belichick. All right, here are the headlines.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by
And I have had many offers becoming inside.
These things happen. Obviously, we all fell for him at that moment, but we just have to keep going. We have to keep playing, and obviously, we all realize in our heads like what this could mean, And again, this is part of the sport and stuff, and it's hard to see and hard to accept the truth, but it is what it is, and we have to go with.
We're taking them through the tunnel. The Celtics have lost this game. Brian Robb thinks there's a chance, even without Tatum, that they can win this series. We'll see if that's the case. That would be a big boost to the case of keeping the coach around. But it is interesting, if they.
And by the way, I could see them winning Game 5. Coming
Sure,
back here,
sure.
reinvigorated,
Sure.
and everybody steps up. But
Us against the world, no one thinks we can do it. Big rallying cry, sure.
Too much. I've seen too much in games 1 and 2, and then again last night with another blown lead, to where I'm confident that they were not going to win that game before Tatum got hurt, to think that they're somehow going to rattle off 3 in a row. No.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow night.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Fair.
But it does lead to an interesting macro conversation, which is they had to get under this tax apron anyway, so that meant Porzingis and Holiday were going to get traded. But now that you look at things, and you're most likely going to be without Tatum next year, and who knows how he'll be the following year. I mean, he'll get back probably to form, in 2 years from now, he'll be back to the old Jason Tatum, and then you'll have two superstars in their prime, and, there's another opportunity. I mean, this is very disappointing for Celtics fans. I mean, this is really bad.
It's a crusher.
Yeah, because
it is an absolute crusher, because Tatum was the very best version of himself this season and in the playoffs. And if you watched the game last night, he was everything Celtics fans could possibly want to keep his team in the game and above water. And now he's gone. It is the worst possible news you can get if you're a Celtic fan, is watching what happened last night. Not only do you lose to the Knicks, who aren't as good as you, and you're going to lose the series, but you lose your best player in his prime, and you're going to probably lose him for next year too. And then who knows when he's going to be truly at full speed. So, as I said earlier, the comp for this is Kevin Durant, who tore his Achilles in the NBA Finals at the age of 29, missed the following season. And if you look, he was still scoring like he was scoring before, but didn't play a lot of games for a long period of time. So there is a lot of danger here. Even though Jason Tatum's still in his prime, he's 27 years old. You're probably not going to get him back until he's 29. And who knows what version of him you'll get. There are no guarantees here. And that alters this franchise, alters the thinking of Brad Stevens. It has to.
I would assume that when he's 29, he's back to form, that he's a top 5 player. I don't think
so.
Well, I would the way that they rehab these guys and the way that things are now and the kind of medical care they get. I mean, it's happened. He's Damian Lillard's done.
Yep.
But he's old.
Yep.
For basketball. I have every confidence that Jason Tatum can get back. It's just, what do you do with the team in the meantime?
Yeah, the timing for this.
It's almost like similar to the Bruins. Like, do you just keep, but there's all these, there's a hard cap in the NHL, and then there's these tax aprons that might as well be a hard cap in the NBA. And there's these repeater taxes and everything else that you got to get under. Mm-hmm. And so you have an opportunity to clear all that up and be ready when Tatum is 2 years older to when he's 29 to add to the team if you can get assets and free up cap space. And the question is, how do you do that? Because we already knew Peyton Pritchard was probably going to be your starting point guard next year. Mm-hmm. We already knew that. We thought Horford and Cornette would probably be replacing Porzingis, who didn't really play anyway. And so, we knew that was happening, but now there are some other questions. But the draft lottery was last night, and one of our favorite guests and one of your favorite guests is Jeff Goodman. A big, big surprise last night in the draft lottery. And now all of a sudden, if you're a Celtics fan, you're pretty interested in this draft.
A 98.2% surprise.
Yeah. And so if you're a Celtics fan, I imagine you're a little interested in this draft now, too. So let's have Jeff Goodman on in just a moment.
appear to be facing their worst-case scenario this morning. Not only did they lose to the Knicks last night, 121-113 to fall behind 3-1 in this second-round playoff series, they also lost Jason Tatum. He scored 42 points but left with about 3 minutes to go when he suffered a non-contact injury to his lower right leg. He was carried off the floor and went back to the locker room in a wheelchair. Derek White scored 23 points for the Green in the loss.
It's tough to see him go down, but we got to find a way to win Game 5. Like that's where we're at right now. We just got to find a way to win.
Tatum will undergo an MRI today. Jalen Brunson scored 39 points for the Winners, and the aforementioned Game 5 is tomorrow night at TD Garden. Out west, Minnesota now leads Golden State 3-1 after posting a 117-110 win last night. The Dallas Mavericks won the NBA's draft lottery last night, despite having less than a 2% chance to do so. They are expected to take Duke's Cooper Flagg number 1 overall. And Detroit scored 9 runs in the bottom of the third inning. They beat the Red Sox 14-2 in the opener of a 3-game series at Comerica Park. The two teams will play again tonight. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Eastern Massachusetts' leader in drain cleaning and pipelining, Drains by James. Slow drain, clogged drain. You need to contact Drains by James today at drainsbyjames.com. I'm John Wallach on Boston Film for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
Listen to it, laugh at it, get mad at it, agree with it, argue about it. It is Boston Sports. Boston Sports. And it is all we do. 98.5 The Sports Hub. What's the best way to listen to Toucher and Hardy?
Well, you're going to $40.
Cough it up, and let's get back to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
The number 1 pick in the 2025 NBA draft goes to the Dallas Mavericks.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. You can watch us on YouTube. Subscribe to 98.5 The Sports Hub if you would. Jeff Goodman is the co-founder of Field of 68. He is also a basketball analyst for Stadium. He covers basketball on all levels. He knows all these guys. He's a great guest. He's fortunate to have him on. Jeff, hey, what's up?
Oh, man, tough one. You sound like you're in mourning, and I'll tell you what, I've known Jason Tatum since he was like 15 years old. So, this is a tough one just because, obviously it doesn't look good. It looks like he's probably, it's an Achilles. If that's the case, you're talking about missing a year. And in his prime, 27 years old, that's the hard part, right? And you don't know how somebody's going to recover if it is, in fact, an Achilles. But, I know Jason pretty well, and I feel for him because you could see it, like the look on his face last night. I had never seen anything like that before from him. And I don't think it was so much physical pain. I think it was the pain of understanding right away, hey, yeah, this is an Achilles, and I'm going to be done for a long time.
Yeah, it's you. As you watch enough sports, you kind of get to know the difference between like writhing in pain and then the difference of like the sadness of the grief of like knowing that this is serious.
Man, standing there, sitting there, banging his head against the floor. I mean, it's just a terrible scene.
Yeah.
Have you spoken with him, Jeff? I know you're close.
I texted him just, last night. I mean, I'm pretty close with Jason. And again, he gets such a bad rap, too. I want to say that. I don't know if it's the right place for it. But, he gets such a bad rap because he's not Kobe or he's not MJ or he's not one of those guys that shows all the emotion that people maybe want to see about him being a you-know-what, right? But, this is the nicest – I know so many of these guys, and they've changed once they become superstars. I will tell you this. 2 guys who have not changed since becoming superstars, Steph Curry and Jason Tatum. They are the same. They haven't changed at all. I text that kid back. I know he's 27. He will respond almost immediately. I texted him the other night after Game 2. Again, not sure I should be saying this, but I'm going to. I texted him. I said, hey, man, off the record between us, how bad's the wrist? Because he had those 2 horrible shooting performances. And he texts back. He goes, no. They were just 2 horrible shooting performances. No excuse. 0. He's not an excuse maker. He's just a good guy who has stayed true to kind of who he is. He's not a partier. You know, obviously you see him with Deuce and what he is as a father. And, you know, at his age when he had Deuce, you know, to be that type of father is really, really impressive. So I feel for him. I hope it's not an Achilles, but I think it's probably an Achilles.
Did he text you back last night?
No,
Okay.
nothing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, I don't think this is playing doctor, and I hate when people do that on Twitter. Like,
Right.
like
Me too.
great doctor. Like
Yep.
you've never talked, you haven't even talked to the patient, let alone looked at him.
Right. I hate saying it might be an Achilles. Like,
But I think
like,
that it's fair.
clear.
I think let's be honest, Jeff. It's probably an Achilles.
Yeah,
Correct. It's a non-contact. We've seen this over and over and over, and it's it's going to be a 11-month recovery, and even when you come back after that 11 or so months, you're not going to be the same right away. We've heard that from KD and Clay and some of these other guys who have gone through it. So it certainly puts maybe not his future in doubt, but certainly the level of play that he was. I mean, that's the other crazy thing, guys. I'm watching this game last night, and I've probably seen him play hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, dating back to his sophomore year at Chaminade High School in St. Louis. And I'm like, this is one of the best all-around performances I've ever seen from Jason Tatum. And that's saying a lot. But, like, defensively, how good he was last night. Passing the ball. Obviously, he was shooting the hell out of the ball. And to have it happen. And, they weren't out of it. Obviously, it didn't look great when he got hurt. But, what were they, down 7 with about 3 minutes left? And Jaylen Brown makes the dumb turnover, and the game's over then, and the series is over then, and again, next season's probably over now if that's the case, because Jaylen Brown, as you guys know, I'm not the biggest fan of Jaylen Brown, certainly not as the number one guy.
So what does this mean? Obviously, we understand what this means for the here and now. I agree with you. The series is more than likely over. What does this mean for the Celtics over the next 3-4 years? This is what we've been talking about all morning long with the cap issues they have now.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough, especially with new ownership and how they want to handle this thing with the cap. But you're talking about two of the highest paid players in the game, and you're not going to have one of them. It's a lot of dead money next year if Jason Tatum is out for the season. And it has to elevate Jaylen Brown to the number one spot, which I don't think – I mean, again, we watched him this series. I know he was great last year in the playoffs, but you're talking about if they want to double Jaylen Brown like they doubled Jason Tatum, how effective is he going to be? I mean, the reason Jaylen Brown has been so effective, part of the reason is because he's had Jason Tatum by his side. And now he won't have that next year. And Porzingis looks like me out there right now.
All right.
I mean, he does. He looks awful.
Yeah.
I mean,
good.
He played. I would have rather had Peyton Pritchard out there at that point because he wasn't rebounding anyway. He wasn't guarding anybody anyway. At least Pritchard can make a three at that point. Do something. Porzingis looked like somebody that, again, like he said, had no energy, right? And Drew Holiday is not the Drew Holiday that we saw a year ago.
So obviously this series is probably over, and then they're not going to have Tatum next year, and as you said, it could take 2 years to get over this. If you're the Celtics, you're probably getting rid of Porzingis and Holiday anyway to get under that apron, and there's this repeat tax and all this crap that's you need calculus to understand.
Yep.
But suffice it to say, any owner would. And so now you're at a point where you're not a championship level team for the next couple years, but Tatum is coming back. And, KD had this, as you said, and it's not like wasn't an all-star when he came, one of the great players in the game when he came back from this. So let's just assume that's the case, that Tatum comes back and he's himself, like eventually. How do you play this if you're the Celtics? Because you could do one thing is you could try to, finagle a way to get more competitive in the next couple of years, or can you acquire assets in cap space to be ready to strike when Tatum does come back? How do you handle it?
Man, I would honestly, the best thing, I hate that I'm even saying it, but if Tatum's out for the year, the best thing is if they're not very good this year, because there are some really good players coming out in next year's draft. And I know I was supposed to be on today talking mostly about Cooper Flagg in the lottery.
No.
We'll
This is way better because the Celtics are in this position.
I know.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I know that. What I'm getting at here is a year from now, we're going to have a draft with two guys that people are going to put maybe not at the same category as Cooper Flagg, but as legit number one picks potentially. One hails from Brockton, Massachusetts, A.J. DeBonsa, who's going to BYU this year. He is 6'8", 6'9".
We've met him.
You've met him. You know him.
Yes.
You know him. Charismatic, high ceiling. He's still got some maturing to do, but, man, he's super talented with a crazy ceiling. Darren Peterson Jr. is a kid going to Kansas who I think is better or as good. 6'5", 6'4", 6'5" combo guard. He's terrific. Cameron Boozer is a kid going to Duke who's kind of like, he's like 6'9". He's a walking double-double, and he will be at Duke next year, a walking double-double as a freshman. There's a kid, Nate Ament, who just committed to Tennessee, who's got the build of like Kevin Durant. What I'm trying to say, guys, is next year's draft is going to be really good and deeper, a little bit deeper than this one, which is the Cooper Flagg sweepstakes, which basically was one team celebrating and the rest of the draft lottery saying, okay, we're happy, but we didn't get Cooper. That sucks.
Oh, really? Because you don't think the kid from Rutgers, you don't like him as much? Because when the season first started, you liked Dylan Harper. You thought he might even compete with Cooper Flagg as being the number one pick. Obviously, that's not the case now, based on how
I
they
like
played in
him a
college.
lot,
Yeah.
but there's a big gap. You know what? Cooper, over the course of the year, just shot up. And Dylan, part of the reason was Rutgers sucked. And they didn't surround he and Ace Bailey, the other freshman that they're going to be competing for probably the number 2, 3, 4 pick in there. They didn't have enough around them. And, even I like Harper. I think Harper's got a lot of Cade Cunningham type qualities to him, but there's still a big gap to me from and it's more about Cooper than anything else. Like that dude, just what he did this year sold me even further than I was sold on him prior to the season.
Okay, what is Flagg's ceiling in the NBA?
It's as a top 5 player in the NBA. Could he be the best player in the NBA? I don't know if I go that far, but he can be in the conversation. He can be a Jason Tatum type player. They're very different, but similar size in terms of height, similar versatility. Cooper Flagg's way ahead of Jason was at the same stage defensively. He's actually probably he's not a better shooter. He shot it better his freshman year at Duke than Jason did from 3. But they have similar games in that way. The Grant Hill, you guys all remember Grant Hill when he was healthy. He's got some of that to his game as well. He's the most mature freshman I've ever seen coming out of college. And again, I've been doing this 25 plus years. He just doesn't really have a hole in his game now because he could shoot the 3, and he's so good defensively right out of the gate. I was just praying Charlotte wasn't going to get the number 1 pick so he didn't have to play with LaMelo.
Yeah, and so, okay, let's make this comparison. If you look at Dallas now that everything has fallen, are they better off now than they were when they had Luka Doncic?
Are they better off now? So basically the trio of Cooper, Kyrie, and AD being
for the
better
future.
than the duo of Luka for the future. Yeah, I think so. I think so because Cooper's I think he's not maybe quite as talented as Luka, certainly offensively, but Luka doesn't guard a tree, number 1.
Mm-hmm.
We know that. There's a reason they got rid of him. Whether we like it or not, there is a reason they got rid of him. Whether it's that he didn't take his body, training too seriously when he went home in the off season, even during the season. We don't know all the specifics, but certainly there's something there. The thing I worry about, and it's not about Cooper. It's more about Kyrie and AD. Those are two, injury prone guys. And Kyrie's knees aren't, they're not in tip-top shape, and AD's always hurt. We know that. But if those guys are healthy-ish next year, healthy enough to play 75% of the regular season games, healthy enough to play in the postseason, and they go in with Cooper Flag, a healthy AD, a healthy Kyrie in the playoffs, then they'll be fun to watch. Because, I think Kyrie will have an instant respect for Cooper, which isn't always the case for Kyrie and players, coaches, human beings. But I think the thing with Cooper is that dude plays the right way every single play, and his IQ is off the charts. And it's like Kyrie doesn't respect anybody unless he thinks that they have a similar, IQ as he does. And he's got a high basketball IQ. We know that. So I think Cooper will instantaneously get his respect, which will be important. And he'll also understand, I need Cooper Flag. If we're going to have a chance to compete for a title again, I need this dude. I'm going to bring him along.
Well, it's just interesting because Luke is going to get a max deal, and then you got Cooper Flag, who's under a rookie deal.
Yeah.
And if it's just funny how this might have worked out despite everyone's best interest.
It's amazing that Nico Harrison could make this trade and then have this kid fall in his lap. Actually, do you buy any conspiracy theories?
Oh, Jesus Christ, John. Yeah, they want him in Dallas.
I don't.
That's exactly where they want him.
I would have thought they would have wanted him. Think about it. If it was a conspiracy theory, wouldn't they have wanted Wemby and Cooper next to each other in San Antonio?
Or you'd want him in Philadelphia.
That's it. In a major market, Brooklyn, Philly. You're not gonna put him in Dallas.
Right.
To reward someone for getting, I guess maybe they were excited that they got all the press for the league.
No, they forced him to trade Luka to the Lakers, and this is his reward, you see.
No one can take anything at face value anymore. No. Everyone's got to be in anything. Politics, anything. Everyone knows so much better than what's really.
It's so ridiculous.
It's so annoying.
There's some truth to some of them, but this one, no, I'm not buying it. No way.
Well, I believe Ewing's was rigged. That I believe 100%.
Too, by the way,
but I don't think they've been rigged since then. Go ahead.
No, just to bring it home to the Celtics for a second here at the end, Jeff. To what extent do you think if Tatum's injury is something that forces him to miss next season, to what extent do they start to change things? They were going to have to anyway due to the salary, but to what level? We've been talking about the levels this morning. Is it just the two guys who we thought were going to be gone based on their contracts and or age?
I think you got to look at everything. No, you got to look at Jaylen Brown then.
Wow.
To me, I think you do, don't you? Everything's got to be on the table. And the one thing, again, the good thing about the Celtics is they are run by one of the best there is right now as a general manager, and that's Brad Stevens, who's super smart and has shown the ability. When he took this position, I was a little bit worried. Is this dude going to have the chops to go try to rip somebody off, right? But he is methodical in how he does things. I don't think he worries so much about trading an individual because he's been close to him, which obviously, he's been super close to Jaylen since he was drafted as his coach. But I think Brad will do whatever he thinks he has to do to get this organization set up, for the future and still having a window here if Jason Tatum's out for the year next year, which includes looking at the possibility of what can we get for Jaylen Brown. I just don't know if you're going to get enough for him. I just don't think you're going to get what some people think you're going to get for Jaylen Brown, because I think when I talk to most people in the NBA, execs, GMs, whoever, they still understand that Jaylen Brown is best suited as Robin, not Batman.
Yeah, and it's just right, are you going to get a return? Because if you have Tatum, you want another all-star next to him, and are you going to get that kind of return for sure if you trade Jaylen Brown, because so much of that is going to be, you would imagine, in picks and things of that nature, and how you're going to be able to maneuver those picks and There's a lot of what you have in Jaylen Brown. If you move him, that leaves it up kind of.
But the problem is, guys, let's face it. The problem is if you don't have Tatum next year, and you got a team of Jaylen Brown and Pritchard and who knows what else, right? You might have another guy with him, right? Obviously, you have Derek White. He's not, hopefully not going anywhere. He'd be as untouchable just because I want to keep Derek White for who he is, as much as anything else, right?
So you would trade Brown before you trade White?
Because you're going to get a lot more for him.
Oh,
hopefully.
Interesting. Well, I
would think you're going to get a lot more for Jaylen.
Very interesting.
So.
Very
but
interesting.
His contract is high. I just think, to be honest, at that point, you're talking about a year in which that team, whatever team, let's throw Jaylen Brown and Derek White and Pritchard as the main three at that point. With they'll bring in somebody else if they get rid of Porzingis and Drew. That team is a middling, maybe a playoff team. Right? Like maybe. Would we all agree on that?
Yeah, like a play-in team, right?
Yeah. They're somewhere in that 6 to 10 range in the East, let's say. That's the worst place you want to be.
Right.
There's no
unless you're
place
Dallas.
than that.
Unless you're Dallas.
Yeah, good point. Good point. But for the most part, you want to have, and it sucks, Boston fans won't want to hear it and won't like it, but the bottom line is if it's that or you tank, and you finish and you have the best chance to get one of, again, Darren Peterson, A.J. DeBonsa, Boozer, Nate Ament, one of those. I've seen all these guys over and over. It's a really, really strong, top 5 class. That's the way you want to go for the future.
Do you think A.J. could be better than Brown?
Yes.
Yeah,
he's got a higher. He's more talented. Absolutely. I mean, he's 6'9.5".
I've seen
long.
him play.
He's athletic.
Yeah,
he's
just crazy. He's a true star, like a true prep star, like a true
And he's got the personality. You've met him. Like his personality is insane. The way he can turn it on, turn it off. The smile from Brockton. His dad. If you've met Ace is incredible in terms of putting him out there and getting him to where he's comfortable in all these settings. So on one hand, he's super mature. His game needs to mature a little bit more, and he'll have Kevin Young at BYU, who coached in the NBA as an assistant coach for years, hopefully figuring that out this year for him.
All right. Well, look, great stuff as always, Jeff. Interesting points, interesting things to think about. Jeff Goodman, Field of 68. He covers, he's an analyst for Stadium as well. Thanks, Jeff. We appreciate your insights.
Always, guys. Good talking to you, and we'll talk soon.
All right, there you go.
Take care, guys.
All right. Jeff has been texting with Tatum. Tatum didn't get back to him last night, of course.
More for Derek White than Jaylen Brown.
No, he said more for Jaylen Brown than Derek White, no. That you would trade Brown over White because you'd get more for Brown.
Okay.
And he makes the point of if you trade Brown this offseason and get something for him, then therefore you're not good and you don't make the playoffs, and then you get into the lottery. And he says it's like at least 4 kids deep.
Yep.
And that's the point that he's making, which is an interesting exercise because Goodman knows more about basketball than certainly Hardy and I. And knows more about these kids than certainly even John, who only knows about Bryant, and that's college.
Mm-hmm.
So he's of no use to him. And Adam's in there just thinking about what cans he's going to pick up next.
I'm thinking about swimming in Walden before the end of the month.
All right. Here we go. It's only 15 minutes from here, Fred.
That's right.
Yeah, good luck in there in 15 minutes.
I said that to him yesterday. He was insistent.
No, I just pass it twice a week. I wouldn't know what I'm talking about. All right. Okay. We'll be back in just a moment.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy.
bit. The email bit. We should do the email bit. It's a great idea. Let's do the email bit.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy, and you can email us at, just get those at 985thesportshub.com. Really, that's the best way to do it. Apparently, Blind Scott has been harassing, or at least reaching out to Danielle at ZLX today.
Good. He has someone new to focus on.
Well, no, he's saying my name.
Oh,
that she doesn't stand a chance because of my presence.
Oh,
has that been the gist of his messages to her?
To the one she sent me that he had sent her.
Good grief.
I like Danielle Blind Scott. Please stop. There's no reason for you to harass her. It's not accomplishing anything.
I take it back because I have, I think, 10 emails this morning. I'm looking through the box. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
10.
a lot.
I have 10. Yeah.
And we appreciate Blind Scott. I'm friends with Danielle. I don't know. You don't need the. She's fine.
I haven't checked his emails in a while. As you know, I have a separate folder for them now. And I don't need to open any of them because he puts the entire contents in the subject line. But a few of the subject lines I see, let me drive the golf cart in the Fred versus the golf cart bit. I knew Brian Robb before he was famous.
Okay.
I can't read the rest of the line.
Oh.
What's the matter with him? I think you guys should go here instead of Grill 23. That was from our conversation yesterday, Fred, about the Mother's Day meals that we enjoyed. Yeah, he's got a lot of ideas. And he's something about Ben Maller's huge boost in people listening in the Boston market recently, and I'm sure he's taking credit for that. So, great.
How would
Thank
Ben
you,
Maller
Scott.
know if there's been a huge boost of people listening?
Good question.
I don't know if Ben Maller knows, but Scott knows.
No.
So,
yeah.
What else do you need to know? Some real venom being thrown John's way this morning. Number one, out of control on Twitter. Fred, you replied to this gentleman.
Yes, I thought it was funny.
After John posted last night, seemingly after the Tatum injury, God blanket, and with the swear word in all caps, John.
I was upset.
Brian said, I know he's turned his back on two religions, but this is a bit much. Keep it PG, you dang bird.
Yeah, I mean, that's offensive stuff to put on Twitter. By the way, awful announcing, because I've been following this Jordan stuff so closely, and they puppet what, Pablo Torre's been saying, and it's a good way of getting the information, so I'll give him credit for that. They put up our Gronkowski thing. It couldn't bother to be mentioned in the show. I say anything that they don't like. It's like my email address, everything I've ever said. Like Maserati says something, they bring up everything that he's ever gotten in trouble for. They're encyclopedic in that. But something that is actually fun and we got a big name to talk about, they just say 98.5 The Sports Hub. All of a sudden my name is not necessary. Because they only want me to be killed.
That's what awful announcing was.
Yeah. We had a bodyguard here for a week.
Awful announcing their reporting was required that a off-duty police officer, who was a lovely man, was in the lobby in front of our studio because so many people wanted to kill me.
Wait, there was off-duty police officer, but then there was security guy. Were there two different?
Awful announcing on two occasions in this iteration of the show have the station has had no choice. Once they published the article, there was a lot of people wanting to kill me.
Then I wasn't here for the first one, but I was here for the second one because I was lobbying to get security guy in the studio on the mic.
Nope.
Because that would have been fascinating.
So but I do ask if you take the shot to please make it instantaneous. I don't want to suffer.
Alex at work. By far the worst part about Tatum's injury are the endless "this changes everything" Wallach soliloquies. It's like he's angling for a Profiling Courage Award. I would gladly take my own Achilles and shove it up his stupid beak.
Hey, Johnny Wallach, how's D3 basketball?
He's that upset.
That's the worst thing about the Tatum injury.
The worst thing is me talking about it.
Yes.
Got it.
I thought, in all honesty, I think John's been very good today.
Yeah, well, not everybody feels that way. This is the email segment. And we got
A lot of venom out there.
All opinions will be heard, Fred.
Okay. Since the Jordan watch is now a daily hit segment, I don't think it's a hit, meaning it's a hit piece. I think it's a hit set, like it's a hit.
Oh, all right. I took it the first way. Okay.
I believe it should have its own theme song. I suggest the Thong Song parody or Jordan Don Don. Get Jamelli on that. That's Mitch from Bedford. I like Girls Like Status. I think that's a perfect.
We just got to edit it because it takes too long, and you have to shush. We got to wait for this one part.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I know that would really rub you the wrong way.
It does.
But I do enjoy it.
We were talking about potential fill-ins in case Tatum does miss time. Torrey Craig, his name has been brought up a lot.
Yes.
A lot of people think he could be the guy.
Yeah, sure.
Going forward.
Yeah.
Fun fact from Dave, Torrey Craig dated Megan Thee Stallion.
Yes, I knew that.
Yeah, I didn't know that too.
I
actually knew that as well.
I know John knew it.
No, John is the one who told me.
Well, and why does John know?
His love of asses and his wanting to be smothered by
His
them.
smother fetish fantasy.
Which we're not making up.
No.
He does have that fetish.
To be brought to the point of near death via suffocation by
asphyxiation,
by large buttocks.
That's a thing. Now,
was that a sound effect you had ready?
Yeah, I got that one on the button.
Oh, nice.
Just in case.
Okay. Okay.
I know Fred's a big fan of the combination.
Again, please.
Sure.
That's so stupid. It's awesome. Hey, Fred, I think you've hit the nail on the head with Bill. He's a man-child whose circumstances helped him get to where he is, and I do believe he was a great football coach to some degree, but day by day it's become apparent how much it was Brady that dragged him along. According to Bill's book, and no need to buy it, I'll give you two of the mistakes. The one was so benign I can't even remember it. He says he should have kicked the field goal on 4th and 13 in the first Super Bowl that they won. What humility on the man. I mean, really owning up to his problems.
Really cost him.
I mean, he's a real piece of crap. Imagine writing like something about yourself that had no arc. Like there's no arc to it. Like there's no like all of us. The people with the most success often have the biggest failure because you learn from the failure, and also you're the kind of person that's going to take the shot, right? Like you're leaving yourself vulnerable. Any good story, and I know it's not necessarily a story, or any good teaching guideline has anything that can be learned. This is what this person did, and it didn't go well, so this is what they learned from it, and this is what they did the next time, and that succeeded. That's how you learn. That's what's interesting. This moron has such an ego on him that he can't even admit to making mistakes, which there are trillions. And the other one is not drafting Lamar Jackson, which is a big slight. And then he does, I guess, begrudgingly admit that they won a Super Bowl. Someone called in Mad Dog and it said the book sucked, and then said this is what was in it. Is in that they should have gotten Lamar Jackson. By the way, they won the Super Bowl that season, but they should have gotten Lamar Jackson. And then he says maybe things would have been different there. Yeah, you would have been great, Bill. You would have been able to hone him perfectly. You would have figured it out in 10 seconds.
You were the right guy for him.
You were the right guy for that job. You would have turned him into a receiver.
I mean, of a pocket passer. Don't want you running. Stand back.
He did really one great thing. First of all, he ran a defense with Lawrence Taylor. Congratulations, and Harry Carson and the rest. So that's great. Let's start bad-mouthing him his football stuff now. then I'll give you all the credit in the world for playing Brady. One of the most brilliant moves in football history, and ballsy. When you had a high-priced guy, number 1 overall pick that just had gotten a big contract to take a kid, and draft him and with all those quarterbacks on the team, and then you put him in and you keep him in against all that pushback. I've heard sports radio clips on YouTube from them when everyone was killing him for it.
Oh, man.
I give him all the credit in the world for that. And but taking all those ex-Jets that you did and putting them on that team and winning Super Bowls, that's great. But I mean, this insistence, this like little snide insistence that you would have won without Brady is ludicrous. And by the way, North Carolina's going to suck. How about that?
And I don't even need him to say that not playing Malcolm Butler was a mistake. I just need him to mention it in that book in order for me to have any interest in that book. But since he doesn't mention it, I don't have any interest.
Yeah.
Not reading it.
Well, no one's going to read it.
No.
Well, they're not finished with the publicity tour. It needs to get more publicity.
More people will read after the publicity tour.
Yes.
Got it.
That's the plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's the deal. Anyway.
International games been announced for the NFL. We'll find out about those in the stack.
Fingers crossed. One of the teams that I know the teams already because Freddie Research is what they call me.
Mm-hmm.
Their fan base is going to be pissed because they've lost that home game. It's a team with the league is taking a big shot not giving them a home game. I mean, the passion of the local fans for that franchise is unmeasured. Is unmeasurable, I should say. It's also unmeasured because it's unnecessary. But we'll have that information. Here are the headlines.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
yourself in 7 words.
A guy in tights and a cape.
And Hardy with blunt honesty.
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
Toucher and Hardy continues on the Sports Hub. We know what you're thinking. What could I possibly have missed from the show?
Which Jeff Goodman, who knows a lot about basketball, he's not like some Yahoo calling in, raised that and why that would be beneficial to them, whether they do it or not, or whether it's the right move. It's certainly not ridiculous when that's raised. But I do feel really bad for Celtics fans, but especially for Tatum, because if you're an athlete in your prime, man, and now, when you're that high an athlete, you want to be in that echelon. Like, you're so competitive that you want to be in that, like, special echelon. And to take, a year or two away from that in his prime is that's devastating.
He's already a top 5 player, but the stuff he was doing, especially last night, made people think of him as better than that.
You know what? I'm glad he had that game last night. I'm glad it wasn't in game 2 when he was like struggling. I'm glad that it was last night.
Yeah.
I'm glad if he was going to get hurt, at least it was a game that he was dominating on his end.
Yeah, he scored more. He scored 60 points in a game for the Celtics, but last night, Jeff Goodman said it while he was on with us, that was one of the better games I've ever seen him play.
And he's been watching him since he was 15.
Offensively, defensively, he was blocking shots, making steals, making good passes. He was fantastic last night.
All right.
Before we get to the NFL international schedule, PGA Championship begins on Thursday.
Yeah, who you got?
Which means tonight we have the Champions Dinner. Much like the Masters, there's Champions Dinner.
Oh.
Xander Schauffele is your defending champion.
It's held at the Holiday Inn
in
Portland, Maine, strangely enough.
Where is the tournament this year?
Hey, baba! It's at the Holiday Inn in Portland. The menu is yogurt. They have a basket of bananas and a broken waffle maker.
No. It is at Quail Hollow.
Holiday Inn.
And smoked goat cheese dates.
You couldn't pay me to eat one of those. You legitimately couldn't pay me to eat
one of the appetizers, along with pickled watermelon, clams casino shooters, and steak and blue cheese crostini.
Well, when I have clams casino, which is a clam with a ton of cheese and crap on it, I really want to just shoot that down my throat.
The main course will be a Wagyu New York strip with blackened jumbo shrimp, blue cheese, gremolata, frizzled
Who the
onions.
hell is this guy? You're going to make him get Wagyu beef?
And then you're going to give it
covered in blue cheese?
Well,
serve it well done with blue cheese on it.
Not only that, you're getting Wagyu, but you're getting a New York strip.
I like
How about
New
a
York
filet?
strips, isn't it? Well, there's more fat in it. It's tastier.
Whipped sweet potato, bourbon bone marrow reduction. And then for dessert, a banana split, which is salted vanilla gelato, bruleed banana, crushed peanuts, rum sauce. I'm an alcoholic!
Jesus.
Chocolate dipped water wafer.
You have that rum sauce. You're going to be.
I'll
the
be
next thing you're
spinning.
going to wake up in a gutter.
That's right. Or strawberry shortcake. The only thing on the menu I can say I'm really excited about, which is the sweet biscuit, vanilla bean, whipped cream, Chambord syrup, and I'm an alcoholic.
I'm listening to a book.
And fresh strawberries.
Where the guy pronounces the H after another letter.
That's infuriating.
There's a Family Guy skit about it, but he literally goes, cool whip. Cool whip. Like he pronounces things. There's 2 books I've read. Mary Carr reads like that too when she reads her own books.
Gil Santos used to do it, and he had the best voice ever, but it was always kind of jarring when he would do the commercial and say, or Meals on Wheels.
Gil Santos was one of the only people that didn't treat me like a total moron when we started on the Sports Hub too.
Oh, nice.
It's funny the guys with the most confidence were the coolest to me. All right, go ahead.
International Games 2025, Friday, September 5th. Team to be announced tomorrow will take on the San Diego Superchargers of Los Angeles.
Which, again, that was what I was referring to, is the league's got a lot of balls taking a home game away from the Chargers. I mean, that fan base is going to be – you talk about when Goodell with the clown nose here. You take away a home game from the Chargers? My God.
Vikings on the road in back-to-back weeks. First, they play the Steelers in Dublin, and then they will play the Browns in London.
I like the Brazil games because there's no chance anyone could go from here.
Broncos and Jets play in London.
And by the way, what do you mean? I mean, there's no way you should be going to the Brazil game. It's not safe.
Rams and Jaguars also play in London. Falcons, Colts in Berlin. And then on Sunday, November 16th, the Commanders take on the Dolphins in Madrid.
A girl I dated lives in Berlin. She moved there pretty much after school. And it seems like she's had the coolest life. Like Berlin seems like the coolest city. Like she didn't get married and have a kid until she was 42. She had a good time. She hung out with artists and musicians.
Why don't you go there?
I'm 50. I got 2 kids and a divorce.
They'll be out of the house.
Once
they move out, you can move to Berlin.
Perfect.
You think I should retire there?
Yeah.
All right. I'm into the rave scene. All right, that'll do it for us. Pablo Torre, we love you. Please have something for us to talk about tomorrow. That'll do it for us. Bye.
Talk to you tomorrow.